Alright guys, welcome back. We are playing Higurashi When They Cry, Chapter 5, Meakashi, which as they told us in one of the tips, I believe means eye-opening, which seems like a pretty on-the-nose name for what we're getting into, because this is the first answer arc. I was thinking a lot. I was thinking more about the lines at the end, pretty much, of the last chapter from like the author, pretty much, right? That the story is essentially in his mind best experience with the question arcs, before the answers. And I guess I can really understand that. It just makes me think like it's been really good so far, right? And in a sense, getting the answers to a lot of stuff, there's just, I guess it's just the sense of finality that comes with that. That's kind of like with the bittersweet feeling you have whenever you are starting to finish anything. Obviously, we're like less than halfway through. So, we're not actually like finishing. This is just the beginning of these arcs, right? Um, but still, I don't know. It's something to think about. I thought about the idea of trying to compile all of my thoughts on like everything and like really have like a solid theory going into this. But we've talked so much, and all my thoughts on everything are buried within the 100 hours of content already done. So, that's good enough, right? That's good enough. I just want to get into it. I'm excited. I was promised Shion, and I certainly have some feelings about Shion, that's for sure. I don't hate her, right? Like, early in chapter 2, oh, that's a shot. Earlier in chapter 2, I the reason I hated her so much was because I just don't think I was very charitable towards her, considering her behavior towards Mion, right? And I love Mion, and I just think like I just really don't like the way she treats her, right? I completely understand her though, right? It's like I get it. I don't hate her. I think she's fine, right? Maybe I'll love her after this chapter. Meakashi, beloved cutthroat, eye-opening chapter. Welcome to the world of Higurashi when they cry Kai. I'm not sure what Kai means in this context. We finally reach the halfway point. From the viewpoint of the protagonist, try to find the truth behind the tragedy that unfolds. The difficulty is very high. It won't be easy to comprehend the motive of the perpetrator. Okay. Interesting. Hmm. I'm surprised that there's a very high difficulty considering this is supposed to be an answer arc, right? Like, come on. But I don't know. I guess we'll see. This is okay. Okay. Quite the background. The backgrounds that they always give us at the start are always places that are very relevant. Normally, like at the end, right? I'm trying to remember. It was like the Sonozaki torture basement in chapter 2. It was the bridge in chapter 3. So what is this room? It certainly looks fancier than other places we've seen. Wonder if we're from Shion's perspective. I wonder if it's like in one of the fancy Sonozaki houses. Who knows? Who knows? Oh god, I'm excited. I'm actually excited. This art contains additional choices. We are not turning those on. We didn't turn them on before. We aren't turning it on now. Yeah, no. No additional choices. She dropped her beads in the sand, so the girl cried. For 100 years, the girl searched the sands. They might be in the ocean, not the sand, so the girl cried. For 100 years, the girl searched the ocean. They might be in the mountains, not the ocean, so the girl cried. How many years will pass before the girl wonders if she really dropped them? That is an interesting, makes me think of Rika. God, it's such a good feeling starting a new chapter. It really is. Okay, alright, alright. I don't know. I gotta go back and read all this poem sometime. 7 keys were attached to the keychain. Without knowing which key was the correct one, I had to go by instinct and try every key, one by one. I'm gonna write something down which might seem insane, but that's okay. All right. On average, I'd reach the correct key within 3.5 attempts. Well, you can't have half an attempt. I'd be fortunate if I could open the lock within the first 3 keys, and I'd be unfortunate if I didn't. Interesting. I had to think of the worst case scenario, getting the right key only on the very last attempt. I fought with my nervousness. My head ached from it. I put the key in and turned it. I just needed to repeat that small procedure several more times, but I couldn't stop shaking. Damn. Even a 3-year-old kid can do something this easy. So, am I more childish than a 3-year-old? Whatever. I don't care if I'm clumsy. I just need to try all these keys. Even in the worst case scenario, the lock will open on the 7th try. Interesting.
うっそ。
Reality isn't always the same as math. What happened was worse than my worst case scenario. None of the keys worked at all. God, this immediately is so compelling. Like, whatever we're doing here with these keys, you know? There's obviously... No, this has to be very insightful into something about her mind. Like, for sure, right? Oh god. Huh. I don't know, I could really think of some stuff with this, right? But maybe it would just sound like crazed rambling. So I don't know, but huh. She's so worried about the correct key. Okay. I shouldn't go that crazy, right? Not this early. What happened was the worst case scenario. None of the keys worked at all. I could feel the blood draining from my brain. Did I get the wrong set of keys? No, I definitely see a faint marking that says this set is for this door. Am I just reading it wrong? Should I go back to the key cabinet to look for the right one? That would mean a great loss of time. Just by being here, I'm already risking so much. Something that could ruin everything might happen at any moment. Yeah, if I can't open this lock, do I have to go back to the administration office? If there were no other choices, it'd be a waste of time to spend another second here. The administration office wouldn't necessarily be empty at this time. Somebody might come in. I won't be able to look for the right key if that happens. I stood up quickly, as if electrified. I was almost in a panic, and so felt the urge to move. My instinct pushed me. I have to go back there as quickly as possible. It's dangerous to be here, and it's also dangerous if somebody comes into the administration office. Really trying to think, we don't know anything about an administration office, right? Where is she? I cooled my head, making it as chilly as possible to repress my fear. Calm down, Shion. Mion wouldn't panic in this situation. Oh. Interesting that she thinks that of Mion, huh? I think that's interesting because... Well, no, that's actually... God, that's actually interesting in a lot of ways, just this thought. Because, like... No, this is so insightful. Like, think about the way... Okay. For one, like, what this line shows is it does kind of show that Shion, despite the way she treats Mion all the time, like, Shion acts the way she does with Mion, I think, as, like, kind of, fighting back against, like, this inferiority that is, like, forced on her through the idea that Mion's, like, the chosen daughter, and she's not, you know, Mion's gonna be the head of the Sonozakis, and she's not, you know, all of that stuff, right? And so, like, externally, she, like, kind of bullies Mion and acts like she's just better than her in every way, because that's, like, a way for her to try and, like, prove that wrong, in a sense, right? I think that was a large part of her motivation behind what she did in Chapter 2, right? Or, like, what made her go crazy in Chapter 2, right? It was, like, an extreme of that, in a way, right? But if this is her internal thoughts, and she really is thinking this right here, that Mion wouldn't panic in this situation, so then it really is, like, internalized for her, right? This idea that Mion is just, like, better than her, right? That everything, that, like, the entire way she acts and all of her actions and everything she does, she always runs through the filter of, oh, I need to be better than Mion as I'm doing this, you know? Because the idea that she's worse than Mion has definitely been, like, forced into her mind for so long. Because, again, it's like, it was unfair from the start, right? Mion was always the chosen daughter and she just wasn't, you know? So that's very interesting. The other thing is, I just disagree. I think Mion loves to panic. Maybe I'm crazy, but I'm just saying, whenever Keiichi starts being a lunatic and screaming at Mion, she just starts crying, right? Like, not that I'm, like, blaming her. I understand. Keiichi holding a bat and swinging it around, I understand, right? I don't think Mion is very good under pressure at all, right? She doesn't, I mean, she has leadership abilities, kinda, in, like, the club, and, like, she's not, like, completely helpless, but the idea that Mion is the type of person who doesn't panic, I don't know if I agree with that. I guess you could say her emotional reaction to, like, Keiichi yelling at her a few times is different than this idea of panicking, but I just feel like I don't see Mion in that way at all. Because the only times where you could say it seems like we have seen strong leadership from Mion would have been in Chapter 2, when that was actually Shion. So, maybe, right? Okay, anyway, done talking about that one line. Maybe I'm just mistaken. Why don't I try the keys one more time? And she, like, doubts herself about it. The next moment, I felt a faint vibration in the air. Somebody was walking somewhere in the hallway. If it were a normal situation, I would have known I wouldn't run into them, since the footsteps were very far away. But at the time, I couldn't think calmly. Ah, shit. Why am I panicking this much just because of footsteps? Footsteps behind her, huh? Calm down, calm down. I should be feeling excited instead. Calm down, calm down. I just need to do what I have to do. I should ignore the footsteps because they're not an immediate threat. Pretend they aren't there. I have to listen for something much more important right now. Ah, shit. This key should be hard and cold, but it's pliable and hot. It feels like rubber. How could I stick this into the keyhole? Shit, shit, shit. It wasn't the key that was pliable. It's my fingers that were limp. Ah, shit, shit, shit. The key sprung out of my hand and fell to the floor. It shouldn't have made any sound, because it was so pliable, but it made a tremendous metal noise as if somebody pushed over a cupboard. Cling. The sound almost stopped my heart. I felt dizzy for a while. I looked around afterwards to carefully see if I caused any disturbance to the surroundings. Calm down, calm down. Nothing's changed. I don't hear anything. So, am I safe? Calm down. Not that sound. Calm down, calm down. I'm really wondering where in the timeline this is, right? Wait, I don't hear anything? What about those footsteps in the distance? Calm down, calm down, calm down. Are they looking for me after they notice the sound? Ah, shit. What is that sound I'm hearing? Is my sweat dripping on the floor? Shut up, shut up, shut up. How could I hear the sound of my sweat? Calm down, calm down, calm down. Calm the fuck down. I have to clarify. This isn't a prison or a detention center. It's a private school. Oh, okay. New music. Iru. What does that mean? What does Iru mean? I'm gonna look it up. Went for a long one today, so I'm taking my time. I wonder if I'm even gonna get a good answer. I'm not getting a good answer. When I put Iru into Google Translate, that's not gonna be a good answer. So you know what? Who knows? Anyway. Very interesting scene. God, I want to ramble about it. Just like, this whole thing about the keys, her trying all of these different keys. I guess we obviously we don't know what's actually going on here. She's about to tell us, right? So I'm not gonna, like, predict that or something. I just mean, like, in terms of telling us about her as a character, I think it's very obvious that there's some kind of, like, subtext here. This idea of her trying all of these different keys and trying so desperately to get the correct one, right? There's some kind of subtext here that says something about her, like, as a character, like, her mentality, that kind of thing, right? I just wonder, I don't really know what to connect it to exactly. It has this feeling of, like, anxiety and, like, desperately searching for the answer, this kind of thing. She's really freaking out about it, right? Which, I don't know, I just wonder, like, what you can apply that to, like, for her exactly, right? I guess we'll see. It obviously, I mean, again, it's like, I was saying this with Akasaka, too. Every character is Keiichi, apparently. Everyone in this story has an anxiety disorder. Like, I don't know. Like, maybe that's just normal, right? Maybe that's just normal. Anyway, it's a private school, not a normal one, though. It costs a fortune just to get in. Is this Sonozaki? It's a boarding school that provides education from elementary school to university. Being for girls only, rather than a school, you could say it's a factory that manufactures ladies. Unfortunately, that is, kind of the purpose of school a lot of the time. School is half a like, babysitting thing for parents who have to go to work, and half... that's kind of a rough way to put it, but, like, sure, yeah. Some of my classmates here have never even used public transportation. Obviously, education's, like, very important, right? I'm just saying that that's kind of the, other than the education, there are certainly other purposes and, like, the long education system and, Some of my classmates here have never even used public transportation. Really, it isn't normal. To me, saying, "How nice to see you," instead of just "hi," is already insane. God, I don't know enough Japanese to know, like, what the difference there actually is. And calling the teachers sisters gives me the creeps. Like, what, someone's gotta tell me what Japanese word they're actually... I don't know. I probably know it, I can't pull it out of the top of my head. I hate the morning and evening prayers, to say nothing of the Sunday Mass. Oh, it's like a religious school. I don't want to memorize the Bible passages, and the Holy Ghost gives me a rash. If I stayed in this institution, that's what I call the place, for many years, I'd either go crazy or be brainwashed. Most of the girls choose to be brainwashed, but I can't do that. After all, I was more impressed by the political schemes and international trade behind religious propagation than by the love of God, which the Bible teaches. Yeah, she's not fallen for it, I guess. Because of that, I've been treated as a problematic child from the beginning. A problematic child. I experienced lots of disadvantages as a result. I realized that quickly, so I superficially pretended to be normal. Interesting. However, I got tired of acting, so I started to reveal my true self from time to time. Talk about true selves, that is a long-running theme in this story. I became a problematic child once again. People started to treat me differently once again. It's fun to misbehave, but it wouldn't do anything for me in the long run. So, why did I act that way? Why, even though I knew it was going to backfire on me later on? After examining my emotions, I realized that I completely had it with my surroundings. Wouldn't do anything for me in the long run. I think the reason why people end up misbehaving... I mean, a lot of times it's just for, like, attention, right? And that's kind of what, like, people say. Shion... I think Shion's mentality and, like, her upbringing and all of this, right? Again, she's been raised as the inferior this whole time to Mion, right? I think she kind of does have the perfect mentality to be misbehaving, like, for that reason, right? Like, for the attention, you know what I mean? I imagine that might even be part of why she seems so extremely extroverted, so extremely, like, just like Shion, you know? Because, again, it's just such a powerful way for her to make herself different and, like, more noticeable, I guess, in a way, compared to, like, Mion, you know? After examining my emotions, I realized that I completely had it with my surroundings. I was afraid of being brainwashed in this institution. I can't live here. I won't let them brainwash me. 6 months ago, I decided to escape this place. Yeah, remember in Chapter 2, she said to Keiichi that she, like, skips school all the time. The moment I made up my mind, I started to feel alive again. I acted ladylike in order to deceive the sisters, pretending to be fun once I'd set my goal. Oh, pretending became fun once I'd set my goal. How did I even read it like that? So is she trying to escape right now? Is that what the keys were for? It gave me the creeps when they told me with smiles that it was God's influence that I started to behave religiously. I laughed at them behind their backs. Interesting. I took on my classmates' duties in order to understand the layout of the school and the schedules of the staff and guards. I can't help but feel like her opinion on, like, religion like this. I wonder if it has something to do with, like, the vague spiritualism and religiosity of, like, Hinamizawa, and, like, that being factors for, like, Mion and the Sonozaki family and all that, you know? Who knows? I took on my classmates' duties in order to understand the layout of the school and the schedules of all the staff and guards. I soon found out that the security of the school was immensely tight, because there were many daughters of important people living here, like you. The guards walked their beat randomly. There were surveillance cameras everywhere. The system that kept out intruders ironically also worked to prevent escapees, but that excited me instead. I simulated how to avoid all the surveillance in my head many times. I drew an escape route in the corner of my notes during class and tested if it worked. I strove to acquire any necessary skills for the escape. It was all fun. After all, the situation was cathartic for me. That's who I am. No matter how hard they tried to brainwash me, I'd never change. Yeah. I'd been waiting for the moment of my escape, preparing physically and mentally. That is... interesting. First, I needed the courage to escape. I had to be confident of the plan. I had to think deeply about it. I also needed skills and physical strength. The interesting thing about this... I just don't know how realistic that is. The idea that you will never change, that you just won't be affected by it, right? Because I guess I'm applying this too to more so than just this specific situation of brainwashing, but also, like, other things that you could think of, like pressures on her that she might equate to brainwashing, you know? I don't know if it's realistic to say, that's who I am, I'll never change, you know? I don't know. I imagined all the possible obstacles and trained myself. It was funny because I was finally able to enjoy gym classes, even the long-distance runs. I needed a perfect plan, as well as the physical strength and skills necessary to execute it. Also, supported by those things, I needed determination. Holy shit, it's Undertale. I made sure that I had all I needed, and executed the plan. I decided to plant a seed in school before the appointed day. The seed was a rumor that one of the male teachers was having a relationship with a student. Jesus. I won't go into the details now, but that can turn into an enormous problem in this school. It shows how ruthless she can be, huh? Guess we already know that in a way. Well, maybe, you know. The school is limited to girls precisely because their parents want to avoid those kinds of problems. Those parents are mostly important people from various positions. If the romance was a fact and was leaked to the public, the principal would have to commit suicide in shame. In fact, even that might not be enough. If you say so. In the world of girls, rumors spread fast, especially when they're separated from boys and are obsessed with dirty thoughts. So, this kind of rumor goes around really quickly. I'm also very curious, because this is a shion chapter, the early parts of Ratanagashi, which were probably like my favorite part of the whole story, of all of Higurashi so much, where we just talked about the interesting, like, gender stuff with, like, Mion, and her feelings about, like, her attitude versus, like, being a girl, and all of that stuff, you know? Like, acting feminine versus, like, her expectations on her, all that stuff. I really enjoyed all that stuff. It seems like, I wonder, since this is shion, right, I wonder if it seems like we're kind of maybe bringing up similar things. I'm curious if subjects in a similar vein are going to be explored here. So this kind of rumor goes around really quickly. The sisters try to get rid of that kind of rumor, and they warn the students not to be swayed by it. But apparently, they're the ones who are most swayed by those rumors, I'm sure. This means that I managed to make them furtively deal with something shady, without contacting families or the authorities. So, if I disappeared in these circumstances, it looked like I ran away with some teacher. All the male teachers would deny it, of course. However, the school wouldn't believe what they said so easily. After all, there's a dirty rumor going around. By the time the school finds out about my escape, after they eliminate all the other possibilities, I'll be somewhere safe. I tried hard to spread the rumor that I was involved in the forbidden romance as widely as possible. The sisters questioned me a few times, but since the romance was something I'd made up, they couldn't find anything. Wait, let me read that again. Okay. No matter how hard they tried, they couldn't find any evidence. After 3 months, I was certain that I created a solid foundation. After 3 months. I guess we already knew she's a good planner, right? She's got it down, you know? Because, I mean, again, it's like the, chapter 2, you know, she managed to kill and kidnap a whole bunch of people. Although, I don't know, I guess the point of that like Mion brought up in the cast review was that it was kind of done sloppily because it was found out. So maybe not really. It wasn't really a perfect crime, as Keiichi would say. I swapped after dinner duties with my classmates so that I could adjust my schedule on this day. I was even able to fill them with suspicion about me by doing that. Okay. Now they'll definitely suspect I ran away with some male teacher. Tonight was the night. I began my chores after dinner. After lights out, somebody would find out about my disappearance. My generous roommate would probably wait about 10 minutes before she reported me to her sister, but no longer than that. Great, good. I had about an hour tops, but that's enough for me. I took a step off my regular route. That was the first step toward my great escape. I calmed down and thought, the key shouldn't be wrong. This lock is old and firm. Isn't it possible that I put the right one in? But the lock was just stiff, and I only thought I got the wrong one. Some locks are, like, hard to turn. You really gotta, like, do it, you know? I realized that my nervousness was making me clumsy. The gloves that I'm wearing to avoid leaving fingerprints must be getting in the way, too. Gloves for fingerprints? Is that serious, huh? I should try the keys one more time. I picked the most probable one, and gently inserted it into the keyhole. It's stiff. If I twist it too strongly, I might break the key. Oh, and then that would suck, yeah. The moment I thought of giving up, I felt something in my fingertips. The key worked. Interesting. I slowly opened the door. I could hear the crickets. I don't have to hesitate now. But somehow I'm reluctant to step outside. I can still make excuses up to this point. It might look awkward, but I still can. But if I take a step outside now, there can be no excuse. If the guards find me, they'll take me to the office immediately. There have been escape attempts before. That's not really so strange. I don't think I'm the only heathen here. It's understandable that there have been people before who couldn't fit in this place. So the school is well aware of the possibility of escapees. I've heard rumors about what happened to those who were caught while attempting to escape. I don't want to believe any of those stories, though. You see, all the school's horror stories involve students who attempted escapes. Oh, God. Whatever, bring it on. More any music, huh? What's this one called? Unseen Future. I'm not expecting to get a second chance anyway. There'll always be only one chance. Things get serious beyond this door. Always only one chance, I suppose. I psyched myself up and pushed the door open. A strong smell was hanging in the air. Is that normal for the outside? Oh god. I'd never smelled this strong grassy smell before. Is there something going on? Do I have to be wary of it? Maybe they cut the lawn or something. Should I go back and wait for another chance? That's silly. There's nothing strange going on. This smell is something I smell every day. I just wasn't aware of it. It's true, isn't it? Even though I pretend to be cool, I'm nothing but a nervous wreck. Yeah. Calm down, Shion. I can rely only on the map inside my head from this point onward. I'd researched the locations of all the surveillance cameras. I'm confident that I'll be able to avoid all of them. But I'm not sure about the guards. They pick their patrol routes randomly, after all. I have to take a chance. I can hide myself in most places, but there's an area where there's nowhere to hide for several meters. I concentrated to keep my senses keen. Well, I have to depend on my luck in the end. Even if I do my best, the guard might find me by mere chance. On the contrary, I might be able to get away no matter how unwisely I choose to move, if I'm lucky. Damn, after all that effort, it just boils down to luck? It often does. This is a gamble, after all. When I realized that, I got excited. Yes, this is a gamble. I'm trying my luck. This is a game to test the determination to change my life. If somebody failed to escape from this school, that meant they didn't have enough luck to survive in the real world. But I'm different. I'm going to get out of here. I'm testing my luck. Here goes, Shion. Not gonna sit down so easily. I ignored the noisy bugs and concentrated only on suspicious sounds. I heard no threats. The loudest sound wasn't the bugs, it was my own heartbeat. God, this track is crazy. Crunch. Even my own footsteps were so loud they could break my eardrums. With each and every step, my overactive imagination tormented me with premonitions of unexpected run-ins with guards. Countless times that torture grew too hard to bear, and I thought of running. But if I broke into a run, the noise I made would only draw suspicion. If anyone heard me running at a time and place where people shouldn't be, they would realize something abnormal was happening. But if the footsteps they heard were just walking, then they likely think nothing of it. Of course, I didn't plan on even letting them hear those footsteps. I tried to extend my senses to get as much information as possible. I didn't sense anyone's presence. I might have felt safer if I heard a guard in the distance. I'm worried that my senses might not be keen enough to detect everything. Somebody might be right behind me, without me being aware of it. Shion, like, you can't say that. Don't say those things. I didn't want to make any noise, so I stopped from time to time. It's like I'm constantly fidgeting. To stop or to run. Something within urged me to choose from either one. I can't choose to stop. I have to keep going quickly and stealthily. She can't stop. She can't stop. She can't stop. Okay. I'm already risking so much just by being here. Running, of course, would be absurd. I know that. The urge to run continued to bug me. My head was filled with those thoughts as I went through this dangerous territory. I succeeded in passing through without running into anybody. I couldn't help but sit for a moment and exhale the rotten air from my lungs. My negative thoughts vanished quickly. Just a little more to go. Just a little more. Just through that bush over there is the fence that separates this place and the outside world. Once again, I strongly felt the urge to run. I suppressed that desire and carefully tackled the final step. Very interesting, right? This idea of she has this urge to run. And again, it's like maybe I just can't help but view the situation she's in now in like a broader sense, saying something about like her broader situation, like apply it to other things as well, you know? But I don't know, this idea of her resisting the urge to run and carefully having a plan like this. Interesting. The beautiful-looking fence didn't seem designed to prevent escapes. While I was worried that somebody might see me climbing up the fence, it fortunately didn't happen. It's even possible that this fence might have a touch sensor. It's too late now. It doesn't mean anything now, since I'm already climbing up. From the top, the fence seemed about 7 feet high. I have to go down carefully, just like when I climbed up. Yeah, you gotta, like, drop yourself down. I knew that logically, but I couldn't think that way anymore. I chose to jump off with no hesitation, I guess. Be careful. Of course, I regretted my decision during the fall. I mean, 7 feet, you'll be fine. I got scared because the flight was longer than I expected. I didn't land beautifully. I fell onto my butt. But there's nobody around to laugh, and I didn't have time to be embarrassed. God, what a... this is just a very interesting thing to think, right? It seems like such a normal line in a way. But it is such an interesting thing to think, right? Like, in this moment. That there's nobody around so she doesn't have to, like, be embarrassed, you know? Because I think it shows, I think that's... It really, you know... It just really makes me think about how all of the behavior that we see from her in, like, every other chapter, like, the way she acts around Keiichi and Mion and all that, it always is, in a way, it's, like, forced, you know? Like, she acts like this as a reaction to the dynamic between, like, her and Mion, right? That's kind of her, the whole attitude we know about her. It's almost like it comes from that, right? So her being so worried about other people being around, even in a situation like this, even though it seems like so small, right? It seems kind of silly to point it out. I just think that's so interesting, right? How that's, like, always on her mind in that way, right? I looked around to see if anybody heard my landing. Even the crickets weren't interested in the sound I made. I felt relieved. I looked at my watch. 5 minutes till 8 p.m. And obviously, I'm not trying to, like, discount Shion as a character. I think almost everybody, their attitude is in some way similar to hers, right? I just think, like, the reason why they act the way they do is a lot of the time formed by, like, social pressure and the kind of thing, the kind of thing that she goes through that makes her, like, treat me on the way she does, or make her want to treat me on that way. And, that kind of thing, right? 5 minutes till 8 p.m. It was just a 15-minute escape. Putting a number to it really made it obvious how short it had been. Looking back, most of the time I was just asking myself questions and hesitating. I guess I worried too much. But I can't be too relaxed just yet. There's no guarantee that I fooled all the cameras. This place isn't a bank. There won't be a fire alarm going off even if the guards did see me. True. It's possible they're rushing this way right now. I can't enjoy the air of freedom yet. I hid myself in the darkness and waited. There's still time left until the rendezvous. Oh, who are you rendezvousing with? Okay. Interesting. I liked that first part of this chapter. That was good. Very good introduction to her as a narrator. I feel like going back and reading all of that again, once we're done with the chapter, I wonder how much more I would have to say about all of the, like, minutia of, like, certain lines in there, Because I just get the vibe that so many of them are about more stuff than just the literal situation right now, right? I watched the school premises while waiting, but it looked like nothing strange was going on. The building was lit up, and the beautiful Western-style architecture made it hard to believe there was a school. It should be armed with electrifying wires, searchlights, and guard dogs, like the prison it is. I thought I'd experience a surge of school memories in a situation like this, but it didn't happen. That sort of thing only happens when you have good memories. I have no good memories of this school, so there's nothing to remember. But if I could pick a series of images to recall, it'd be the luxurious dinners we had every night. Obviously, something obvious about the situation, right? The fact she feels the need to run away from school like this, and it, is unable to, talk to her parents about it or something, right? I mean, it just shows, she can't do that, right? I wonder if she even bothered trying, But considering the vibe we've gotten about her position, in the Sonozaki family, I just wonder if that would just be an impossibility, So my memories would be nothing but international cuisine. Japanese, Chinese, French, and so on. What the hell? That's just too funny. I burst into laughter. At that point, I heard a car approaching. I crouched in the darkness. The plate number is the same as I was expecting. That's the car. Who is it? I jumped out and rushed to the passenger side, then opened the door and got in. If they can drive, is it Erie? Oh, him! This guy. Okay. Right. Yeah. From the tip, after, the Shion Mion reveal, yeah, Kasai, right? That was him, right? Did I write down his name, 6 months ago? Maybe. That's fine. I might have. Really couldn't tell you. God, there's just so much nonsense, that's for sure. I don't know. I think that's him.
Shion-san.
The driver was a man of early old age. He'd be angry if he heard me say that, though. He thinks he's still middle-aged. He looked at my face and learned that I succeeded. He smiled.
シャバの空気は久しぶり。とにかく今は銀シャリが食いたいかな。
学園では上品なお料理ばかりが出て
She wants something less than excellent.
シオンさんにだけは麦飯が出ていたんですか？
バカ、そんなわけないでしょ。
Yeah.
冗談に決まってるじゃない。ほら、笑ってる暇があったらとっととアクセルを吹かす。
はいはい、仰せのままに。
I'm just immediately struck by just the difference between her internal monologue and the way that she's talking to him, right? I don't know. It's just really, very interesting. Kesai really did laugh out loud. After telling me to buckle up, he accelerated. We're just gonna only have music at this point, apparently. Boy in the Windmill. The cathedral-like school disappeared from the mirror in an instant. It disappeared so quick that I didn't have time for a surge of dinner memories. Goodbye, my lovely school days. Haha, I'm going to fill my stomach with junk food from now on. Exactly. Perfect. I'll forever be free from the table manners you taught me. Aha. Serves you right. As we drove, the scenery began to change. Soon we were surrounded by vast fields of crops and few streetlights. It reminded me that this was just the countryside of Japan, not Europe.
お腹は空いてないですか？どこか飯の食えるところへ寄りましょうか？
食事して
Yeah,
る
she
から
probably had
ね
dinner. I lied. Oh, I'm actually a bit hungry. I didn't eat much at dinner to avoid slowing myself down with a full stomach, but she doesn't want to stop, I assume. Yeah. I appreciated Kasai's offer, but I didn't feel like taking the time to eat while we were still in enemy territory.
この時間ですから高速に上がってしまうとサービスエリアへ寄っても
How
自販
far?
機しかないですよ。
How far do we have to go?
まあ最近はハンバーガーとかの自販機もありますけどね。そうそう。聞いた話では最近じゃおでんの自販機もあるって話です。
Trying to tempt her?
はあ何それコーヒーの自動販売機みたいに器がポロッと出てきて押したボタンの具がボトボトっと落ちてくるわけ
Like she's been a prisoner. She has to catch up on all the the new developments in society while she's been away.
そういうのじゃないらしいですよ。おでんの缶詰になってるそうで。
あ、ごめん缶詰はパス
缶詰もう子供じゃない
Ooh,
でしょ。
canned food, huh? I don't know if that has anything to do with like the incident involving cans that we know about, but I don't know. I think that's funny.
嫌なもんは嫌なのうっさいな
I wonder, like her not liking canned food though. I mean, I don't know. That is interesting.
もう何笑ってんの
Kasai chuckled. He must have been trying to help me relax. He isn't usually so talkative.
私は疲れちゃったよ少し寝させてもらいますこれリクライニングどうやって倒すの
そっちの左側の根元を探ってみてください。レバーみたいなのがありませんか？
あったあったよっこらしょ
Wonder if she's actually gonna be able to sleep or not. Kasai laughed again.
何か面白いこと私した
いえいえ。よっこらしょなんていう
Oh,
若くない言葉
oh,
遣いは
God.
どことなくミオンさんに似ておられたもので。
Let me hear that again.
あったあったよっこらしょっと
Interesting. I don't. Oh, God. Well, obviously. Mion and I are identical twins. We're perfect copies of each other. When I react to something, so were Mion. Perfect copies, except for the way you were, brought up, right? When I react to something, so will Mion. When Mion reacts to something in a certain situation, I'll react the exact same way. Huh.
お姉は元気
No, you won't. That isn't how it works, actually. But that's very interesting that she thinks that.
多分元気かと。私も
そっか
Oops.
お姉はもう実家じゃないんだったね
I bring your father to the family councils.
南沢の鬼ババのとこだっけ
シオンさんが学園に入られるのと一緒の時期に園崎本家に移られました。
I responded with disinterest, even though I was the one to ask about her in the first place. The main house is where Oryu, the current leader of the Sonozaki family, lives. That's my grandma, who I call a hag. But when we use the phrase the main house, that usually means more than just a dwelling. What Kasai refers to is the same thing.
少しは変わった
Did she change?
ミオンさんがですか？
An interesting question.
そうあのばあさんと朝から晩まで顔を合わせてりゃ少しは変わるでしょ
She has to have changed. Interesting. I wonder if she has. Kasai chuckled yet again, because we don't know much about Mion before, so I wonder from what perspective she means, what version of Mion is she comparing the Mion we know to, right? Has she changed? He knows I hate my grandma.
私が見る限り変わったようには感じません。シオンさんの知っているミオンさんのままですよ。
私はどう私は変わった
Probably.
いいえ、全然。
Not at all, huh? Kasai responded quickly with a smirk. I mean, she already said that she never changes, right? I haven't seen him for a while, though. It's not fun if he answers this quickly. I glared at him, and then he burst out laughing.
全然変わっておられませんよ。あれだけのお嬢様学校に入られたのに、全く変わらないというのは驚くに値します。
It seems unnatural in a sense, doesn't it? I don't know. Huh.
チェー好きなだけ笑ってろ私は寝るよ寝る
後ろの席に毛布がありますよ。使ってください。
I wonder how long she was there for. I grabbed the blanket and rolled up in it. I'm exhausted, but I can't go to sleep. It's strange, yeah. Or maybe not. I must be tired from the escape. It's just that I'm still feeling tense. Probably got adrenaline going through you. Probably take a while to calm down. So, I have to declare it once again, if only to calm myself.
寝る。私は寝るよ。
はいはい。さっきからもう3回目です。
Surely that'll work. Maybe I should try that when I have trouble
私が許
sleeping.
可しないと寝れないんですか？
今日のあんたは喋りすぎ。あんたが少し黙っててくんないと。
You were the
お腹も
one.
引っ込んじゃう。
You were the one who said something,
失
Shion.
礼しました、姫君。ではしばらく黙らせてもらいます。
They're very close with each other, aren't they? This interaction with Kasai reminded me of the old peaceful days in Okinawa. Well, I don't really know if I can call those days peaceful. We were in the middle of the dam protests back then, after all. Oh. We all united together, and now that I think about it, we pulled a lot of pretty dangerous stunts. If the authorities ever find out what I did, I'd never escape going to juvie. So Shion too, huh? Because we knew Mion, of course, had participated in the damn protest like quite a bit, right? The whole thing about her like having an arrest record from when she was like 10, which is crazy. Well, at least half the people in Hinamizawa would go off to prison. We didn't think of them as criminal acts, though. It was a war. It might have also been a festival. Wait. It might also have been a festival. Okay. A festival where every person in Hinamizawa joined together in protest. It was a struggle, but it was also fun. It was fun to throw stones at the riot police with everybody. We hid ourselves in somebody's home when they chased after us, and of course they would let you, right? It's Hinamizawa. Good place to escape from a crime. I guess like those, the kidnappers from the last chapter, they never found them, right? We'd even go crowd around the police station, demanding the release of our arrested comrades. When we snuck into the construction site and sabotaged it, it felt more like we were playing at war than conducting one. I got so excited back then. I felt united with my fellow members, even though they were strangers to me, and that memory warms my heart. Very different. Such a different attitude, it feels like, you know? Like, I can't really think of any specific lines, but I just feel like her attitude about Hinamizawa just doesn't seem like this anymore in a way, you know? I wonder if it's just her growing older and realizing, like, you know, her position in the Sonozaki family and all of that really changing her attitude as she gets older, you know? Realizing, like, what it means, I guess. Because that's who she's always going to be in Hinamizawa in a way, right? As a Sonozaki. And I don't know if she likes being a Sonozaki, considering, like, what that means with her position, you know? Yes, the way it felt back then was like helping everyone to carry a sacred palanquin through the village, getting all sweaty and exhausted together. Until we all collapsed face first on the ground and shared our excitement and cheers with unfamiliar faces over tea. I was just a kid back then. I remember accompanying young men who worked for my dad out to the village to do various bad things. I was arrested a few times. Crazy. It didn't feel any different, though, than when I was called to the teacher's office for forgetting my homework. So yeah, her and... Okay, yeah. Her and Mion were both arrested. Huh. The other villagers were furious about the dam project. But for those of us who were kids at the time, it was a pretty fun memory. Yeah, it's almost like the same way she didn't understand the significance of the dam project in that way, probably, because she was just a kid, right? Maybe is reflected in the way her attitude about things has changed as well, about, like, being a Sonozaki and Hinamizawa, all that kind of stuff, you know? All that came to a sudden end a few years ago. It wasn't only the power of the protest that ended the dam construction project, it was... Sure, the Sonozaki family and my dad's organization had worked secretly in the shadows. This is top secret information in the Sonozaki family, but it's said they may or may not have kidnapped the Minister of Construction's grandson. And you know, that's the beautiful thing about it, is it is true that they may or may not have done it, because they didn't really order it, exactly, in order to blackmail him. The grandson was found a few days after the abduction. He was found in the mountains of Yagochi. He didn't simply disappear, and he wasn't demoned away. Ooh, that means some kind of deal was made secretly. A year after that, the dam construction plan was halted indefinitely. The police suspected the villagers' involvement and investigated, but they couldn't find any leads. The villagers never betrayed each other. They'd do anything to protect their fellow man. They fabricated fake alibis and fake evidence. It was easy to deceive the police. Gah. Nope. A big bump. The car suddenly shook, snapping me out of it. I must have run over a bump or something. I suddenly realized my expression was a very happy one for some reason. Oh, God, that's sad. For some reason. I must be looking forward to going now.
シオンさん、起きてますか？
Yeah, I wonder if she really was asleep there.
何？
お帰りですが、沖宮でよろしいですよね。
Yeah, where do we go? I mean, if she just escaped...
他にどこに帰んのよ。
Sure, is there anyone there who's just no one there is gonna care about you having escaped? I answered straightforwardly with a frown. Kesai, then, chose to reply straightforwardly.
シオンさんを全寮制の学園に入学させる決定は、園崎本家当主が下したものです。シオンさんはその学園を抜け出した。どういうことかお分かりですね。
So then where would she go if she can't go there?
ばあさんの決めた学校が私に合わなかったってだけでしょ。
So it was Oryu who decided it in the first place. Man, really, like, forcing her away from the rest of the family, right? Like, that's actually, yeah, no wonder she hates her.
シオンさん。
わってるって。さいな。
As the head of the Sonozaki family, the Hag's decisions are absolute. They're nothing like, say, the 3-second rule. Worse, that's so weird. Okay. Worse, the decision to confine me to an academy far away from the Sonozaki family was made before I was even born. Yeah, because of the names, right? That's like the thing. I didn't even think about it that much in like chapter 2, but like the name thing. Remember how there's the tip about like the demon kanji, or the kanji that means oni in their name, right? So it was decided from birth what like. One of them was given the name Mion. That one has the Oni kanji in it, so that one's that's the chosen daughter, and the other one's just Shion, who's automatically the loser. You know, like, God, it's so unfair. You know, Shion was the name they gave. Exactly, yeah. My sister Mion has a character that means demon in her name. That was to signify that she's the successor of demons. In other words, she would be the successor to the Sonozaki family, its demonic bloodline. Oh, God, just what? So fucking insane. My name, Shion, has a character that means temple in it. That means I was destined to take the veil and be confined in a temple. Awesome. Great. Thinking of that reminds me how much hate this... Can I read, please? Thinking of that reminds me how much I hate this name of mine. Just saying, remember when I was, like, coping back at the end of chapter 2, trying to think of, like, how it could still be Shion? No, like, she was making Mion call herself Shion. She was calling herself Mion because of the name thing. Right? Yeah, right. For starters, the person known as Shion is an abominable being to the Sonozaki family. Great. Because it meant the family had 2 heirs. I don't have to cite the countless historical examples to explain. It's easy to imagine how that could prove troublesome for succession. According to her long-held family traditions, one of the twins was to be strangled to death right after birth. Amazing. Unbelievable, isn't it? Yeah, very. What that means is that I have to be grateful just to be alive and breathing to this day. How infuriating that is, right? Because it's such a stupid, unfair system. This idea that she's automatically the loser child who's gonna be estranged and sent off to, you know, be out of the family. But at the same time, it's like this idea that because they didn't strangle her, you know, like, man, I'm sure no one's ever said that to her. I mean, if they might have. I guess they might have literally told her and said that she should be grateful because of that reason. But, like, in her mind, God, yeah. I heard the hag actually put her hands around my neck right after I was born. I don't know what exchange took place in that moment. Maybe some brave relative of mine managed to get her to stop. Maybe your mother? Or maybe she was in an extremely good mood that day. Then don't try to strangle me. We're twins. There were no apparent differences between us. But the first one out of my mom's stomach was named Mion, and the second one drew the short straw and got named Shion, yeah. Everyone else was desperate to tell us apart, but we sisters just found that awfully ridiculous. There wasn't any difference between us. No one could tell us apart, even if we only swapped hats. Really emphasizing this no difference between them, right? Even though it's obviously untrue, because they are different people. And there are differences between them, right? Like, obviously. Like, for sure, right? But her, Shion, repeating this idea that there's no difference between them is interesting. Because, of course, that's... would be something she would want to tell herself for one reason, just because it shows even more how unfair and ridiculous the situation was from birth, that one of them was chosen and one of them wasn't, you know? Like, yeah. We wondered why other grown-ups were trying to see the difference. Well, our fun as twins didn't last forever. One day, they created an undeniable, clear distinction between Mion and Shion. Mion went to the main Sonozaki house to live with the hag and to learn how to become the successor, yeah. And I was to be confined at St. Lucia's. I have no objections to Sis's inheritance. I used to be jealous, but now I feel that having to learn about and follow the traditions would make me just tired. I even feel sorry for Mion. I don't know if I believe you. I don't know if it's jealousy about having to, like, I don't know if it's jealousy about Mion's situation, like, that you literally would want to be in Mion's situation, but I absolutely think that this being told that you're inferior and everything that happened because of that is something, like, you're not jealous about it, I guess you could say. She could just be lying. She might be jealous about it, right? Or, at the very least, the outcome of this separation of them is something she's very unhappy with, right? So I'm not going to be a threat to the family, even if I'm back in Okonomiya. But the hag doesn't seem to think that way. She thinks of me as some kind of evil omen. That's why she wanted to keep me away from her. That doesn't matter to me. I don't want to see her face either. I don't care if she doesn't allow me to enter Hinamizawa. She can charge me 10,000 yen per step I take there. But I want her to let me live in Okonomiya, where I grew up. When I was little, I was in Hinamizawa, but I don't remember it much. And I'm not very attached to it. I also don't know if I agree with that. All these memories that you were just talking about, reminiscing about Hinamizawa and how nice the sense of community and all that stuff is. All these things that you've been, like, denied directly by your family now. I think you do, but whatever. I do have good memories of my elementary school days in Okonomiya. The town isn't very sophisticated, but I kind of like it there.
沖宮の町へ帰れば親族の誰かの目に触れることになります。
Just pretend to be Mion, it'll be fine.
やがては必ず本家の知るところになります。
ばあさんの耳に入ったらどうなるかってことまあそりゃやばいことにはなるかもね。
Yeah.
お分かりならいいんですがね。
なーに、カサイ。あんた今から私に引き返してあそこへ戻れって言って
Or
るわけ
to go somewhere other than the house, but then where would you go, right?
まさか。そんなことは言いませんよ。私が言いたいのは
相応の覚悟はあるんだろうなってことでしょ。
Have some kind of excuse, have something to say.
本当に理解し
Yeah,
て
I
るなら
guess.
いいんですがね。
そうだろうね。万が一の時は脱走の手伝いをしたカサイも責任は免れないだろうしね。
Sure.
カサイも小指に未練があるなら今のうちに小指にいっぱいキスをしておいた方がいいんじゃない
I guess. Might strap you to the chair.
その時はシオンさんも
Oh
にされて
god.
鬼が淵沼に放り込まれるくらいの覚
Jesus.
悟をしてくださいよ。ああ、あるいは本家離れの秘密部屋送りかも。
They might. I heard there's a big torture room in the main Sonozaki house. Oh, you become quite acquainted with it in chapter 2, don't worry. I've never seen it, though. I heard they used to torture and kill the enemies of the village there. It's just awful, really. That place existing, I don't really know what to think about it. Other than, like, I guess, we know now that the Sonozakis are, like, they are pretty cutthroat, and they are pretty, like, just because the torture room exists and all of that, it doesn't mean it has to be an explanation for anything else in the story, right? It really could just be this, and it just has nothing to do with any of the murders or anything, you know what I mean? I hope I don't end up as a victim of that place.
はいはい。ま、なんとかなるって。
If you say
つくづ
so.
くシオンさんは姉さんに似ている。その出たとこ勝負的なところが特にです。
Keep on comparing her to her family.
そりゃ似るでしょ。実際の母親だもん。
My dad and mom will be furious if they find out about my escape. I'm more afraid of them than the hag. So their mom is still, like, alive. I wasn't sure about that. Because it's like she's never been mentioned, you know? I don't want to go into details, but my dad is part of the Yakuza. He's in charge of the organization which covers the Shishabone area. He's in a very important position. So is Kasai here. He's an old friend of Dad who really trusts him. I don't know if this is true, but I heard Kasai used to be very aggressive, though he's gentle now. I also heard he has tons of scars. He was in charge of a few large areas, but after he was injured badly in a fight, he retired. Now he's my dad's consultant, aka a drinking buddy. He got his like, veterans reward, I suppose, you know? He did enough. He gets to chill now. He was my caretaker in my childhood, and now I feel like he's my butler. At first, I thought my dad asked him to supervise me, so I hated him. But in time, I started to feel like he was on my side. This is just a hunch. But I think Kasai used to be in love with my mom. My dad, mom, and Kasai were in a love triangle. Then my dad took the lead in the end. Kasai couldn't leave my mom entirely, so he stayed around as my dad's friend. If it's a love triangle, though, then you're telling me your dad and Kasai are also in love? Like, maybe, right? Who knows? I can tell that from the way he acts. He's seeing my mom in me. That's why he says I look like my mom every now and then. It kind of gave me the creeps at first, but he isn't a bad guy at all. He's actually pretty funny. I only found that out after I got used to him. So, when I thought about escaping, I naturally turned to him. I contacted him in an early stage of my plan and arranged to meet him today. You could call him a conspirator. It's not surprising he's worried about my return to Okonomiya. Considering the rules and traditions, cutting off his pinky finger isn't too far from reality. Great. I might be rolled up in a futon mat and thrown into the swamp for real, too. I hope not. Even so, there's only one place for me to return. I'm going to Okonomiya, and nowhere else. That's my hometown. Yeah, like, let her have something, right? Something that can't just be denied to her by her family, you know? This might be a kind of homesickness, but I don't care what it looks like.
実際どうするつもりです。園崎一族の目はそこ以上にありますよ。
まあ、最初はのんびり隠れながら過ごします。仮に姿を見られたって、ミオンだって言い張ればいいんだしね。
Sure.
それから
で、ほとぼりが冷めてきたら、私に近しい親類から徐々に打ち明けていく。私に味方になってくれる人たちだって。
So I'm gonna assume then that, like, that, you know, I'm gonna assume Shion escaping St. Lucia's, this has happened, you know, this has always happened, right? This is why she's around in, you know, the chapters that we've seen her in, right? So I wonder, for one, her telling people that she's Mion, I wonder if that's what she was doing, when she was, well, no, never mind, because I was Mion in Angel More, other than that last time, when it was just Shion trolling Keiichi, right? So I wonder if she just gets all this, I figured out somehow, because she just kind of waltzes around in Hinamizawa, like in Chapter 3, and it was fine, right? I don't know.
私も親父と大喧嘩した時、あちこちでいろんな人に囲まってもらったし。
なるほど。
Wait, let me read that again. Okay.
味方と既成事実を十分に作り上げてから、最終的には園崎本家にもおめこぼしをも
I
らおうという
suppose
つもりで
if
す。
she's a bad omen
う
though.
まくいきますかどうか。
行くって。そもそも私を学園送りにする決定だって結構あれは私をやたらと嫌った鬼ババの再起進化の決定みたいなもんだったし。
Ah, but her word is
マ
law.
サもそう思うでしょ？
ええ、まあ私もあの決定にはさすがにやりすぎとは思いました。
Of course.
鬼ババはとっくに更年期障害で正常な思考なんかできなくなってんの。
If you say
あの
so.
ダム戦争の興奮で頭がいかれちゃって、まだその時の興奮が抜けきってないんじゃないかな。
I'm just saying, maybe this is silly to keep bringing up, but I'm just saying, we still haven't seen their grandmother in, like, current year time, right? She's been mentioned so much, we've never seen her. Is she alive? I guess I don't know why Mion would be lying about her grandmother being alive. But I don't know. Kasai smiled. I couldn't go back to sleep after all, even though I rolled up in a blanket. Even though I told Kasai to shut up, I kept talking to him. In time, I got tired of talking. As I could feel the car run smoothly on the highway, Kasai spoke to me
シオン
again.
さん、ほら。
Ooh, what is it? Sunrise? I was so tired that I ignored him. It's no way the drive's that long, right? I wondered what he wanted me to look at, but I wasn't that interested. Yet I opened my eyes slightly and saw a sign quickly pass by. Kasai probably wanted me to see that sign. It had an illustration of azaleas around the letters that said, "Welcome to Shishibone City. My hometown is coming right up." Alright. Ooh, fancy. Shion Sonozaki. Got all our players here, huh? Dear God, so many. Just it's gonna list every single character. Akane Sonozaki? That was the name of their mother, right? I'm pretty sure. I mean, that's a female name, right? A Sonozaki we don't know. I'm pretty sure it was, and I'm pretty sure I wrote that down, but I don't remember. God, I am hyped for this chapter. No, that was actually so good. I loved this beginning part of this chapter. Like, God. No, I love Shion. Now, Shion's my favorite character now. Oh, already. Okay. We're definitely doing 2 in this video, so. Let's read the tip, though. Goodbye, sister. Broke out of prison. Oh, new music at the tips. Goddamn. Notebook's beginning. June 1982. Satoshi Hojo disappeared several days after the Tanagashi festival. Right, Satoshi... Okay, so Shion and Satoshi, we know there was some kind of relationship between them, right? We know, like, all the stuff that Eri joked about Satoshi being, like, her boyfriend, all this stuff, you know? We know they were very close to each other. I guess I just wonder. I wonder how that's going to play. We have to assume that's going to be something about the Shion chapter, right? We're gonna be talking about Satoshi, I'm sure. There were 3 possible reasons for his disappearance. Onikachi... what? One possibility is that it was an accident, or we're going to talk about actual possibilities rather than discussing Onikachi, right? Dead bodies sometimes end up in irrigation channels a few months after hit-and-run incidents. But since the police did a thorough search of the area and hadn't found his bodies, this possibility seems small. The second possibility is a self-motivated disappearance, right, that he ran away. Satoshi-kun had been living in dire circumstances. His close friends actually heard him imply he might run away, but he wouldn't leave without Sadako. The police thought he skipped town after killing his aunt. That seemed plausible, considering that aspect. But the police arrested another person for the murder, so this hypothesis must also be considered false. I don't know about that. The last possibility is that he was involved in the series of mysterious deaths in Hinamizawa. I guess it's my theory, it's just like Keiichi at the end of Onikachi. I think he was going crazy. Like, I guess I don't know what happened to him, but that's kind of what I'm assuming, right? Like, I mean, because Keiichi at the end of Meakashi ran off into the woods and then ripped out his own throat, right? Like, I don't know. It's also called the Curse of Oishiro-sama. He fell victim to it and disappeared. Unless Oishiro-sama's occult power is actually verified, this curse must be the act of humans. It's only natural to assume that Satoshi-kun was made to disappear by someone's will. So the question is, whose? The possibilities are quite limited. The culprit is either a member of the Sonozaki family, a member of the 3 families, or one of their many relatives. I suppose the police can assume that easily. I need to think beyond that. Exactly, yeah. Who did it? How did it happen? And why did it have to be done? I mean, who would have any motivation to want Satoshi to disappear, right? I don't know. I really don't know. I can't think of anyone or anything. Why did Satoshi-kun fall victim? What was the motive? Who gave out that order? Who actually did it? The mastermind, the culprit, and the truth all are in reach of my grasp. Maybe I'll find them right behind my back. But even so, I can't reach everywhere. There are parts of my back I have to make an effort to reach, clenching my teeth and crackling my joints so that the tips of my fingers can barely touch them. The truth is hidden in places like those. Interesting. I'm writing this because I need to organize my thoughts and memories. Nobody will read it other than myself. Well, I'm reading it. Sorry, Shion. I'm assuming this is Shion, of course. But if somebody does, that means that either I threw these notes away because I no longer needed them, or I fell victim to the curse of Oishiro-sama in the middle of my attempt to solve the mystery. If it was the former, that's okay. But if it was the latter, please, I want you to help me. Please help this powerless young girl. I'll do my best. I will do my best. We just have all new music, apparently. Man. Okay, we're gonna take a quick break. Not for you guys, for me. And then we'll start the next chapter. Okay, let's continue. (1982). Okay, so we are... Okay, was all of that 1982? The 4th year of the series of mysterious deaths in Hinamizawa, also known as Oishiro-sama's curse, 1 year prior to Keiichi Maibara's transfer. Right. Let me make sure I save. Or, then maybe Shion escaping St. Lucia's was even before 1982, right? Because, to be fair, maybe she just hasn't... She didn't say anything. I guess she couldn't have formed a relationship with Satoshi at all yet, right? So, that was probably even before 1982 then, right? I assume, yeah. I didn't hear a wake-up chime. I'm not in school anymore. My brain is half asleep, but I'm aware of that. Waking up at the same time as the chime would go off at school doesn't feel good. That means we're going to see Satoshi. Right? Yeah, no, for sure. He's going to be alive, and we're going to see him. Okay, all right. Big. No, like, we have to, right? So how did I not think of this until right now? No, obviously, right? Her escaping school had to have happened before she formed any kind of relationship with Satoshi, so we're gonna see that happen, right? Like, for sure. Okay. Waking up at the same time as the chime would go off at school doesn't feel good. I can't get back to sleep after this. Still, I'm not going to live a torturous school life anymore. I can't make today either happy or boring. It's up to me. I can make today. God, I read that the opposite. I can make today either happy or boring. It's up to me. Yay, that's really positive. I feel like I'm alive for the first time in a while. I didn't have any other clothes, so I was still wearing the school track uniform. Yeah, something being up to her for once. Sure. It's supposed to have been designed by some famous Italian person, but it just looks plain to me. It really doesn't feel great to still be in clothes from that school. I want to enjoy my freedom as soon as possible. I especially don't want to walk around outside wearing it. I should have Kasai bring me some new clothes later. I should think of redecorating this room. After all, this is going to be my castle from now on. So we made it back. This is a room in a gorgeous apartment building in the suburbs of Okonomiya. Oh, okay, so we're not at the house. The property is one a realtor and my dad's conglomerate obtained after a foreclosure due to some sort of disputes. Most of the residents moved out during that. So while there are plenty of rooms, it's a lonely complex that feels devoid of people. Does she like that, I wonder? Plus, with the exception of the manager and a scant one or two others, all the residents are shady-looking people connected to my dad. It probably won't be much longer before the virtuous residents are driven out. The apartment I'm living in used to be the room they'd use for viewings, so it looks like a room in a business hotel. It's fully furnished, but lacking on daily necessities. I'll buy those things over time. Yeah, basically living by herself. I nodded to myself. It might have looked stupid, but it helped psych me up. At school, there was a TV only in the common room, and we weren't allowed to watch any cable channels. I zapped through all those channels as a form of emancipation. It was early in the morning, so nothing interesting was on. But I enjoyed it anyway. Commercials are fun to watch. Kasai dropped by with lunch right when I started to feel hungry.
Shion-san, おはようございます。ゆうべはよく眠れましたか?
I bet she did. But you're free.
やっぱ日本人はちゃんと布団敷いて床に寝ないとね。たくあんが美味しい。
それはよかった。後で必要なものを教えてください。可能な限り揃えるようにします。
ありがとう。あ、でもそんなに気を使わないでいいです。私の好きで始めた生活だし。
Right. She wants to be self-sufficient. I think that's important to her, right? My pen isn't working. Like, I want to take more vague notes that don't mean anything, and I can't. Like, what am I gonna do? There we go. Okay.
葛西だってたかられたらお財布持たないでしょ?
If I started extorting you, I have to be serious about my plan. I can't let myself take advantage of Kasai's wallet forever.
バイトでもしようと思います。生活費くらいは自分で稼がないとね。私が選んだ生活なんだから、自分で何とかするのは当然。
それはたくましい限りです。
That's just sad. No, that really is sad. Because she's so young still, right? It's just kind of the position she's been forced into, right? At the age that she is, she shouldn't feel the need to earn her own living and take care of herself, you know what I mean? But, I mean, like, of course she does, because of the, you know, like, her terrible evil family, but, it's just sad, you know?
でも、いいんですか? 外を歩けば、やがては親族の誰かに見つかりますよ。
そこは少しは考えてある。
Okay, what's the plan?
そこでミオンの力がいるわけよ。
Okay.
さ、本家に電話してもらっていい?
What is Mion gonna think of Shion's freedom?
ミオンが出たら受話器変わって。
やれやれ、何を企んでるやら。どういう作戦ですか?
Kasai dialed the number. It's funny to me that we're calling the main house, even though that's the place I most want to avoid at the moment. And it's like she knows Mion's gonna answer. Yeah.
おはようございます。ミオンさんですか? ご無沙汰しています。葛西です。ええ、おはようございます。少しお待ちいただけますか?
Oh god, what is her reaction gonna be to hearing that Shion's out, huh? I take the handset.
もしもし.
Oh god, her voice. Awesome. Great.
私が誰だかわかります? そ
Impossible.
でもそんなはずは。シオンはセントルチア学園に幽閉されてるはず。
Confined.
そんなはずはない。学園では外部との電話は禁止だからね。それが電話してきたってことは。
So what does that mean, huh?
血の巡りの悪いお姉でも意味がわかるでしょ
Of course, of course.
あんた、学園抜け出したの
She escaped brilliantly. It wasn't just sneaking out. Come
そ
on.
んなことはどうでもいい。会いたかったですよ。お姉。
That was as far as I could take it, and Mion had hit her limit too. See, I really am just of two minds about their relationship in a way, because at times they seem so close like this, and it seems like fine, right? Like this, obviously this was like a year ago, right? And it seems so fine like this, right? And there were times where Keiichi, like, has thought kind of like, you know, oh, it seems like they, you know, they just make fun of each other a little bit, you know, they have a good sibling relationship. But it just seems like by 1983, by the summer, and the interaction we've had with them, it seems so mean-spirited and so much worse. You know what I mean? Like, right now, it doesn't seem that bad, right? But when we get into, like, stuff that was happening with Tanagashi, like, frankly, the way that Shion treats Mion at times just seems so cruel, you know? And I just wonder what happens to make it get worse than this, you know what I mean? We both burst into laughter, unable to keep up our act. It's been a while since we laughed out loud with each other like this. Because, like, it doesn't seem like Shion hates Mion, like, by default, because of, like, her thoughts about, like, the family and, like, this jealousy over her being the chosen daughter and all of this, you know? It doesn't seem like Shion automatically hates her because of that, right? It feels like something has to happen to make it worse, right? But I just don't know, you know? I don't know. Because again, it's like, maybe, I don't think I'm being, like, too harsh on the way that Mion and Shion's relationship seems later, right? Later from this point, you know, like from what we've seen of it in the previous chapters, you know? Because again, it's like, with the way that Mion and I mean, half of their conversations are just Mion screaming that she hates Shion and she wants her to go away, you know? That seems so different than this now, you know? But it's like, I guess in my mind, the reason why I think Shion would have that attitude towards Mion is factors that already exist right now, right? Which is Mion's place in the family compared to Shion, you know? But maybe Shion... I guess that is kind of a newish thing. Shion has just now escaped, so I just wonder if her... I don't know. I guess we'll see.
どうしたもこうしたも。別に私は嘘吐いてないです。って、じゃああんた本当に脱走したの
She sure did.
やる。
I mean, like obviously, Watanagashi ends with what happens at the end of Watanagashi, right? So obviously things are going to get worse than this. There's obviously a lot more issues in their relationship on Shion's end than what happens now. I just wonder how it's going to reach that point, you know?
私を閉じ込めておくにはちょっと警備が甘かったかもね。
Of course, they were no match for her. Like, literally, they weren't. Like, she did it. Yeah, instead of blowing it up or something. I literally... Exactly. Yeah, that would be much better. Kasai smiled at us in amazement, his face a blend of amusement and exasperation.
おね、今は電話大丈夫なの？大丈夫。バッチャはお稽古に行っちゃってる。
Okay. So she is alive. I don't know if my theory about her being dead makes any sense at all. Anyway.
それは好都合。近いうちに会って話をしましょうね。
Because I know at the end of chapter 2 they said that they found her like in the tar pit too, pretty much, right? But I don't know.
とりあえず今日のところは電話で。うん。本家に学園から私が脱走したっていう連絡は来てます。
I wonder, right? The school definitely knows about it by now.
来てない。本家の電話も来客も全部私が通すから、私を通りしてバッチャに連絡行くことはない。
Exactly.
だから来てないって断言できると思う。ほう、そりゃすごい。さすが園崎本家。
Yeah. No kidding.
私はそんなの嫌だよ。シオンが変わって。
Oh wow. I am okay.
鬼がついてるのはお姉でしょ。まあせいぜい頑張ってください。
That is a thing for Mion to say, huh? I think that makes sense. Because I think, I mean, we talked about this in Watanagashi. Wait, let me finish writing this. We talked about this on Watanagashi about how like Mion's issues, like emotional problems with her relationship with Keiichi and all this stuff, all that early stuff in chapter 2, comes from the fact that all this responsibility in a way has kind of been forced on her, and she's like uncomfortable with it, like the way it makes her like feel like she has to act, all of that stuff, you know. So I guess it makes sense that she would say that she thinks Shion should take her place, you know. Again, it's just, I guess in that sense, it's crazy how it's like both of them don't like it in a way, you know. I'm sure from Shion's perspective, I wonder if it almost feels like condescending, right? That would certainly be an attitude she could take about it, you know.
陰ながら応援いたしております。まあそんなことはどうでもいいや。すごい人。
Exactly, yeah, and I don't believe her fully, but who knows, who knows.
私関連で何か動きがあったら、葛西に連絡をよろです。ここの番号はお姉には教えてもいいかなと思うけど、しばらくは内緒にしときます。
Okay, okay.
ごめん。
そうだね。学園脱走したって話がバッチャの耳に入ったら、
I'm sure.
いろいろ面倒になると思うよ。連絡の件は了解。何か動きがあったら、葛西さんに伝えとく。
ありがとうです。それとあと、お姉にお願いがあるんだけど。
Okay.
そう来ると思った。
We need to pretend to be you for a little
お金
bit.
は無理だよ。
さすがにお金を無心
Yeah,
に
she
できると
wants
は
to-
思ってません。
She wants to be self-sufficient anyway.
お姉にはちょっと私のバイトのお手伝いをお願いしたいん
Ooh,
です。
okay.
なるほどね。そういうことか。で、具体的にはどうするの？
We can communicate fast in a situation like this. We don't have to get into details because we know what's on each other's
吉
minds.
郎おじさん、私の味方だったじゃないですか。吉
Okay.
郎おじさんの持ってるお店のどれかでバイトできないか
What does he
募集してみ
own?
ます。
Angel Mort,
で、
perhaps?
シフトが決まったらお姉に連絡しますから。
あんたがバイトしてる時間帯には消えてりゃいいわけ。
Ah.
めんどくさい役だな。
なんですか、 お姉。
It's kinda.
双子の妹の頼みを断る？
Of course, of
本当
course.
に？
いいよいいよ、引き受けるよ。あんたの頼みは断ると後が嫌だ。
サンキューです。今度シュランクベルタのケーキでもおごるから。可愛いタルト山ほど食べさせてあげますから。
Such a nice sisterly relationship.
あ、シオン、シュランクベルタね。
Oh,
去年の秋に店閉じちゃったんだよ。
interesting.
あ、そうなんだ。
うん。マスターが脳梗塞で倒
The
れて
owner had a stroke.
退院してから一度は店を開けたんだけど、やっぱり体が持たないらしくてさ。
Interesting. I wonder. Huh.
惜しまれたけど閉店。
そっか、
Should I skip that?
そりゃあ残念です。
Yeah.
欲張りモンブランをお腹いっぱい食べる夢はもう夢のままで終わっちゃったんですね。
Wonder how significant this is to Shion. What this could like, you know, obviously this is like a small thing. It seems unless this restaurant was really like super important to her, right? But things are certainly different. Things are different here than you remember, right? It's not the same place that you left. I was disappointed at my favorite cake shop. It closed down, but more so that this town had changed without my knowing while I was gone. Exactly, yeah. It was kind of regrettable, yeah. Like that time was stolen, you know.
他にも変わったこと、私の知らないことある？
I'm sure there are.
いくつかある。今度会ったら全部話すね。
ありがとう。私も学園で見てきたこと全部話しますね。
Okay,
近いう
okay.
ちに機会を設けましょう。追ってこっちから連絡し。
わかった。
ミオン、
何？
元気でやってる？
How is she?
もち
If you say so.
な
Huh.
らよかった。切るよ。
Okay.
ろん。じゃあね。
Sounds good. Sounds good. It's really been a while since I last talked to her. I put down the phone and heaved a sigh as Kasai brought in some tea.
結局どういう話になったんですか？
吉郎おじさん、私のことを可愛がっててくれたじゃない？おじさんにね、私が学園を抜け出してきたのを打ち明けようと思います。
Like, what I can't decide at this point is if she has these feelings about Mion already. Like this kind of just some kind of base level of like, again, maybe not exactly jealousy, but just, you know, feelings related to the unfairness of the situation, all of that, you know. I just wonder if she pushes it all down, if she tries to ignore it, you know. I wonder.
で、 おじさんの持ってるお店のどれかでささやかに働かせてもらえたらなって。
Because I feel like you can already tell, on some level, right, that her behavior is kind of shaped by it already, right? Just, I mean, obviously, right? It's just kind of the half-joking, very full of herself comments that she has, you know, just the way she acts all the time. I feel like it's just so easy to connect that to how easy it would be for her to have, like, a sense of inferiority because of, like, the way her family treats her, and this being, like, a retaliation of that, you know?
人目に触れますよ。吉郎さんはいいとしても、他の親類に見つかるかもし
We
れ
got
ない
it all
じゃない
figured
ですか。
out. It'll be Mion instead, pretending.
そのためのお姉ってわけよ。私が働く時間が決まったらお姉に連絡する。で、お姉は私が働いている時間にはちょっと人目を忍んでくれればいいわけ。わかる？
Kasai looked puzzled. It's not really that difficult to
つま
grasp.
り簡単。バイト中に私が何か咎められるようなことになったら、
Mhm,
私が
mhm.
ミオンだと言い張ればいいだけの話なんです。おわかり？
Normal people wouldn't buy this kind of plan. Normal. Unfortunately, Keiichi. No, I guess Keiichi was kind of you know, Keiichi didn't really buy it immediately. I guess. I mean, like when Mion said she was shion, Keiichi didn't really buy it immediately, but he kind of fell for it, you know. But Kasai knows too well how easy it is for me and my sis to trade places.
つくづく大胆というか、悪知恵が働くというか。
So they really have experience doing this, huh?
もちろん
Yeah.
褒め言葉だよね、カサ。
Kinda. Kasai looked amazed. If things go south, it'll affect him too. Considering the rules of my dad's profession, he won't be able to get away with just a mere apology. That's why he doesn't want me to do anything too risky. I think I have to make it up to him, since he helped me escape even knowing that risk. Angel Mort, there it is, right? Oh yeah.
ああ、任せとけよ。シオンちゃんのことをどうのこうの言うやつがいたら、俺が少し締めとくから。
Sounds good.
やっぱ吉郎おじさんは頼りになります。
So they both really did work here. So it wasn't just... Because I thought it was just Mion worked here. And then Shion, pretended to be here and just came in here to work that one day, you know, to like troll Keiichi. But no, I guess they both worked here, in a sense, right? Because Mion was here too,
お
you
じさ
know.
んならきっと助けてくれると思ってました。
Uncle Yoshiro pounded his chest with his fist after offering me his assistance. He seemed glad that I turned to him first.
いいんだよ。俺はシオンちゃんの自分の生活費は自分で稼ぎたいっていう気概に感心してるんだ。
Supporting herself.
金をたかりに来たんだったら本家に突き出してるところだぜ。
Hmm.
ああ、おじさん怖い。
I knew he was reliable. He understood my situation straight away and promised to help.
店長、シフト表持ってきました。ここに置きますね。
One of the store clerks brought out a work schedule. There were many things I'm unfamiliar with, written on it.
で、シオンちゃんはどのくらい働けるんだい？
Probably a lot,
私との
honestly.
都合次第。
Or, yeah, I guess Mion has to be able to disappear.
でき
Yeah.
たら私の指定する日だけ入れるのが一番いいんです。
It'll be really hard to keep it up,
お
honestly.
いおい、そんな虫のいいこと言うやつ面接じゃ会ったことないぜ。まあな、仕方ないもんな。
I'm depending on Mion for my work. Our schedules have to match. Of course, Uncle Yoshiro understood that. But I also knew he couldn't afford a selfish part-timer who only works when she wants to. It's like, yeah, he can, come on. In the end, he decided to hire me as an office helper, not an official worker. As a temp, I wouldn't have a work schedule. My uncle also decided to pay me out of his own pocket.
生活費が稼げればそれで OK です。
That's gonna be a lot of money, honestly, but sure, I guess.
一応金を払うんだから。
I guess she can
しっかり頼むぜ。
she could probably just stay in that apartment for free, right? So all she has to do is like buy the food, I guess, maybe. Even that, I'm not sure.
あと、事務所内じゃおじさんは勘弁だ。
はいはい、分かってますよ。店長さん、ふつつか者ですけど、よろしく。
こちらこそ、どうぞよろしく。
Once all the business talk was over, my uncle hounded me with all kinds of questions. He asked me things like, what was it like in a prestigious girls' boarding school? Horrible, and so on. Apparently, there were all kinds of rumors going around about St. Lucia Academy I was confined to, and everyone was curious about it. I added a few embellishments of my own as I explained how unordinary life at that school was. They tortured us every day. My uncle looked extremely delighted to hear all the little details about life in a secret garden for girls. Horny bastard. Yeah. Well, he's the manager at Angel Board, so is that really surprising? Once my uncle was satisfied, it was my turn to ask all kinds of questions. I wanted to know if anything peculiar had happened while I was gone. I won't be able to act like Meon unless I can fill in the gap of information left in the past 2 years.
そんなに大きく変わったことはないな。ダム戦争が終わってからこっちは、もうそりゃのんびりしたもんさ。
Okay, so it's 2 years. Yeah. Okay.
私はダムの計画中止が発表されて少ししてから学園に行ったからな。私がこっちにいた時はまだほんの少しピリピリしたムードが残ってましたよ。
中止発表の後の1年くらいは同盟も計画は凍結されただけで中止になったわけじゃないって言って翌年には解散式をやったよ。
Right,
南沢の
right.
境内で大式典だった。それでダム戦争は本当に終わりだな。
じゃあ私が閉じ込められたすぐ後だ。
Right after I was
戦争も終わっちゃって
imprisoned.
みんなふぬけちゃった感じ？
シオンちゃんなんかはダム戦争は戦争ごっこみたいで楽しかったんじゃないか？
Does Shion know about, like, the murders? I'm trying to think. Would she? Like, kinda, right? I mean, would that kind of news get to St. Lucia's, you know, that it's kept happening every year, you know? I don't know. Huh.
子供たちが警察のお世話になるたびに引き取りに行っていろいろいじめられた大人の身にもなってくれよ。
Literally.
まあ確かに否定はできないかな。私ら子供にとってはダム戦争はかなり遊べるイベントでしたし。
Uncle Yoshiro, oh god, Uncle Yoshiro seemed exasperated at how differently kids and adults treated the conflict.
そういえばバラバラ殺人なんてのがありましたよね。
There sure
あの
was.
クソムカつく現場監督の野郎がバラバラにされたやつ。
Absolutely.
あれ、確か犯人がまだ全員捕まってなかったですよ。
Oh, okay. And she doesn't know about the ones after that,
捕まっ
right?
たんですか？
No.
ああ、確か。
She doesn't know about the lore at all, right? Like, because it's only been in these past 4 years that this crazy lore about the murders and the Onikashi every year has really started, you know? I wonder if she's gonna think about it, right? It has to sound so crazy from an outside perspective that now every year someone dies and someone gets demoned away, you know?
そうそう。確か捕まってないはず。
She's gonna tell her about the
し
rest?
かも
I wonder.
南沢の守り神、お社様を祀る綿流しの晩にね。当時お社様のたたりだって騒がれたのを覚えてます。
Oh, God.
子供的には結構怖かったな。
ああ、お社様のたたりね。その翌年にも起きたんだよな。
そうそう、あれも怖かったですね。
And then it's
何でしたっけ？
kept
ダム
happening
の賛
since
成
then.
派の男が事故で死んだやつ。
And his wife, right? Sadako's
Okay.
parents. Yeah,
しか
yeah.
もまたしてもお社様を祀る綿流しの日に。これはもうたたりしかありえないってずいぶん騒いだっけ。
Interesting. Her, okay.
あれは怖かったです。
The construction manager that everyone hated was killed and dismembered on the night of the Watanagashi festival. That incident, on its own, was more than intense enough for us kids. Worse, part of his body was never found, which made it almost a ghost story among us. We seriously believed that the severed right arm was roaming in search of the body it belonged to. It didn't take long for the rumor of Oyashiro-sama's curse to become a topic of discussion among occult researchers and the like, considering the circumstantial factors. Even so, the rumor faded away after about a year. After the dam project was officially frozen, we held Watanagashi purely as a festival. But the curse struck again. The victim was a pro-dam activist who lived in Hiyamizawa by the name of Hojo. He and his wife were on a trip when they fell from a cliff to their deaths. It was considered an accident. I wish we knew how far away this trip was, and, like, where it was, or, like, anything, you know? Technically, police were still searching for the wife's body. If I remember right, they never did find it, did they? Once again, the man most worthy of Oyashiro-sama's curse fell victim on the night of the Tanagashi festival. So the festival of Oyashiro-sama's curse rose up again. Until then, Oyashiro-sama wasn't considered very important. At least in the world of us kids. It was just the name of the object of worship in the shrine. Nothing more than that. So then, and the next year Rika's parents were murdered. I wonder if Shion even, like, knew Rika at all? And I assume she doesn't know about that, right? I'd seen boys peeing on the archway, and I once stuck my hand in the offertory box. The existence of a god didn't matter much to us. After 2 consecutive occurrences, the kids no longer doubted the existence of a curse. We were all shaking in fear of Oishiro-sama. Everybody suddenly became interested in the old stories about him, too. We quietly listened to the musty old stories the elders had to tell, and we started genuinely believing in the tales of Oishiro-sama's miracles, which any of us would have laughed away before. Oishiro-sama's rules were awfully simple and clear. Enemies treading into Hinamizawa will be cursed. Villagers leaving the village will be cursed. What defined the village was terribly vague. Were we never allowed to leave Hinamizawa village? Was going to Okonomiya still safe? Was a single step enough to be out? Was a 3-day, 2-night hot spring trip still safe? We kids tried to draw a line. The whole thing about not being allowed to leave Hinamizawa is interesting. At most, I imagine it means something, like, thematically. Like, you can connect it to, like, I don't believe in the curse, right? So I don't think it has anything to, like, actually do with people, like, dying or being affected by the crazy shit or anything, right? Other than, of course, I mean, like, we talked about this with Oishi and the whole, like, Oishiro-sama messenger thing, right? But the idea that there's lots of things, of course, that can affect your mental state. And if your mental state is what makes you be affected by the crazy shit, then I can imagine there being some kind of vague potential connection between leaving the village and something about the crazy shit, right? But that's a pretty tenuous connection, huh? I don't know, but the idea of being punished if you leave Hinamizawa, I feel like just, if nothing else, it has to mean something thematically. I'm just not sure. I guess you can vaguely say it kind of fits in just the broader themes of the story of, like, connection and, like, friendship and that kind of thing, you know? It was decided in the end that if you had a house in Hinamizawa or Okonomiya, you were safe. And it was okay to go on trips if you had a house in either area. I know it's weird, but those rules were made up by kids, after all. According to those rules, I'd be cursed, since I lived at a boarding school in such a remote area, exactly. I couldn't say it out loud because I felt embarrassed. But in fact, I was a little scared of the curse. Oh, no, and, like, that's what I mean, right? No, and that feeling is, like, what I mean, right? This idea of this tenuous connection, right? If the crazy shit that makes you go crazy it's like, it feels like your mental state has a lot to do with it, right? The people we know who have been affected by it have had crazy mental states that have been, like, accelerated and made worse by the crazy shit, right? So, just like this feeling that she has here, this idea that because she left knowing about this idea that you can't leave, makes her a little bit scared of the curse. That can be, even if it's, like, minute and barely at all, it can be a factor that could have to do with her being affected by the crazy shit in Chapter 2, right?
やっぱり2年連続ってのは結構きますよね。
Well, it happened
私は
4
今で
now.
もお社様は信じてるな。
シオンちゃん、2年なんてもんじゃないよ。
She
知ら
doesn't.
ないの？
She sure doesn't.
知らないですよ。何の話？
そっか。シオンちゃんはあれの直前に学園に行っちゃったんだもんな。
Yeah, every
知らな
year.
いよな。
I wonder if that's going to make her fear even worse, huh? Uncle Yoshiro grimaced as if he said too much, as though he'd mentioned something I shouldn't know about.
何おじさん。
And,
そこまで話を振っておいて、急に黙られると面白くないですよ。
doesn't like the idea of being, people hiding things from her, maybe.
まあ、シオンちゃんももう小さい子じゃないもんな。
おじさん、私を見てまだ小さい子供っていうのなら、
Uh-huh,
眼科
uh-huh.
行くか回し蹴り食らうかのどちらかを選んでもらうことになるんですけど。
Thank you.
もう、わかったよ。別に隠しゃしないよ。あったんだよ。その後も。
あったって？
The murders.
さっきから何の話？
Rika's parents. Tick. When I was very little, I always had this tick before I heard something bad. Oh, okay. It was like a gnome who lived inside me was giving me a warning. A gnome who I guess that would be a thing that a kid would imagine, I suppose. Like he was poking me with a small needle. When I felt this tick before my parents called me, they'd always either chide me or tell me something bad. So I used to run away when I felt it. But my senses seem to have grown dull over the years. Interesting. Even though my gnome poked at me, I just sat there. What is this music? Gallery of Madness. Right. And the file is called gettingmad.ogg.
実は賛成派の北条が転落事故で死んだ次の年にもな。つまりは去年なんだが、またあったんだよ。
あったって
Oh, of course, the fourth one hasn't happened yet, right? It happened again this year. Right. Yeah.
また
Because it's
渡辺氏の日に
1982. Yeah.
3年連続でまた
そうなんだよ。
And it's gonna happen again.
ほら、ひなみ沢の神社。
To Satoshi.
古出神社。あそこの神主が祭りの夜に突然ぽっくりいっちまってよ。聞いた話じゃ、原因不明の奇病で急死したとかしないと
God,
か。
this track is really something else, huh?
それもまたしても綿流しの夜に。
Allegedly.
で、神さんもその晩のうちに沼に飛び込んじまって。村長たちが集まっててんやわんやの。
Do I have any kind of explanation for that one at all? Not really. I've never really even thought about this one. I don't know what to say about the priest and, like, just Rika's parents. I don't know. Like, because I don't just want to write it off and say it was a coincidence, right? That doesn't really make any sense, you know? The only person I imagine, like, Takano would have wanted to kill them because she thinks it would be funny. Like I don't know, right? Couldn't tell you. Oh, wow. Huh. I wonder what she thinks of that. I'm gonna write down the word gnome in my notes. So there's that.
うん奇病ってのはおひれだと思うけどね
Oh, okay.
急死したってのは本当
Yeah.
神主さんは綿流しの準備で大変だったと思うし急性心不全とかそういう感じの
Like maybe,
よくあるやつだったんだ
like
と
maybe,
私は思う
like
けど
it's
ね
possible it could just be a coincidence, right? But that would just be really, I feel like that would be shitty writing, right? I feel like I'm not just gonna expect that it's just a coincidence, because imagine how that would feel if by the end of the story, all we're told is, oh yeah, that just happened, you know? Like maybe, right? I won't discount it as a possibility, it's just certainly not gonna be where I go to first, you know?
でも綿流しの日ってのが異
Yeah,
常でしょそれも3年連続で普通に考えたら人の死が今も同じ日に重なるなんてことは考えられない警察も検視したみたいだけどその後に特に騒がなかったってことは死因に不審な点はなかったってことじゃないの
And like obviously the reason why my mind goes to Takano is we basically know that she is the one who kills Tomitake, right? Like probably, right? Or if she doesn't kill him, she knows something about what kills him, right? Something, she is involved in it in some way. How about that? How's that for precise language, right? And because we know of her involvement in that, it just makes you think, okay, could she have been involved in the previous ones as well? You know, because we know, like, she is someone who would perhaps be interested in perpetuating this myth and continuing it on, right? She loves the lore. We know, like, I don't really know her motivations other than that, you know? I like that freaky tip before she killed Rika, which was just like, oh, I better be really funny if I disemboweled Rika, right? What would happen? I feel like she needs stronger motivation than that, but who knows, right? So it's just like, for that same reason, I could imagine her maybe having something to do with this, you know? But, like, that's not really an answer.
まあでもシオンの言う通り人の死が3年も続いて綿流しの日に重なるとやっぱり普通じゃないって思うね
No kidding.
それにさっきお姉も言った通りお社様にたたられそうな人ばかり開始するこれは絶対に何かありますたたりでも陰謀でもとにかく絶対裏に何か因果関係がある
Yeah. I wonder, since this is 1982, if we're going to learn even more about Satoshi killing his aunt, right? Because that one, to me, that is the one that is the clearest, like, has nothing to do with any kind of conspiracy at all, or, like, anything to do with, like, Takano, right? I decided to meet up with Mion at the library near the Okonomiya train station. Like, here's the thing, right? Takano definitely had nothing to do with the first one, right? Like, I mean, almost definitely not. I guess she could have. I guess I can't really say that, right? I doubt she had anything to do with the second one. So, like, is it fair to say, then, that she would have anything to do with any of the other ones other than Tomitake's death? Other than her just having something to do with Tomitake's death, that being the one that happens that year makes you think, in general, that she's the one perpetuating it, right? But, like, I don't know if that's a stretch, right? It's not that I don't trust Mion, but I don't want to let her know where I live. Back at the library. Not many people use this library, so I won't see anyone from Hinamizawa here. Remember when Shion said she wants to be a librarian? It's very convenient for meeting someone in secret. After we discussed my life plan and work schedule, we moved to small talk. I've been away from this town for years. Things have changed. I asked Mion about those changes in detail in order to fill in the gaps. While talking about various things, I brought up what Uncle Yoshiro had told me about Oyashiro-sama's curse. Even before I left town, the curse had already struck twice. The dismemberment murder on the first year left quite an impact. And the year after, the pro-dam activist couple fell off the cliff. On the day the villagers were enjoying their first Watanagashi festival since the dam project was indefinitely frozen. This one also left quite the impact. The evil construction site manager was punished, and the next year, the traitor to the village met the same fate. If it had happened only once, people would have concluded that it was just a bizarre coincidence. But when it happened 2 years in a row, people were far more likely to believe it was a curse. And then 3, and then 4, and then 5, right? I know up to that part. And after I left town, the curse struck again for the 3rd time. People talked about the curse more intensely than ever, both in Hinamizawa and Okinomiya. I have to rethink this. Oyashiro-sama's curse has drastically drained credibility while I was far away. It is still unclear with the first 2 incidents, but after it continued for 3 years straight, people's doubts changed to convictions. Even though the priest who died on the 3rd year wasn't an enemy of the villagers, the fact that people in Hinamizawa didn't care for him much added even more credibility to the idea. Yeah, like we talked about that in chapter 4, right? Kind of his position as the, as the priest was kind of like weak in a way, right? Also, what's up, Mion? Good to see you.
同盟の役員から。日和見主義なんじゃないかって叩かれたよね。
Yeah.
戦争末期は同盟内でも過激な理論がまかり通ってたから。神主さんの穏健な態度は、そういう人たちにとって気に食わないものだったと思うね。
The priest had looked strict and scary. The way he spoke was always so formal. But in reality, he was very warm and reserved. Maybe it was because he was a son-in-law, having married into his family. I'm sure the priest and his personality were the perfect fit for managing the shrine that was used for summer festivals and village meetings. But that gathering spot-style atmosphere of the shrine changed completely when the dam war broke out and became the headquarters for the Onigachi Guardians. Prior to the dam protests, hardly anyone worshipped Oyashiro-sama. Of course, the devout elders paid worship to him, but the average person treated our god like how you treat fortune-telling. Once the dam protests began, Oyashiro-sama was suddenly hauled out as the symbol of the village's resistance. But yet the old people, right? It seemed like the old people still had, like, a belief in Oyashiro-sama, right? Because of how they treated Rika, like, even in Chapter 4, So it was more so the younger generation that, like, weren't really buying it, Tracing the Oyashiro-sama faith back to its roots, it was an exclusive elitist faith that believed its members were descended from a holy ancestor, different from the masses at the foot of the mountain, and that those tainted masses should never come near the village. Of course, such self-centered ideology wasn't acceptable anymore in peaceful post-war Japan. So this doctrine was abandoned over time. Still, that idea remained, and they trudged it back up to fan the flames of nationalism and unite the town against the dam project, and it worked. With the revival of those ideas, things only grew more radical by the day. Well, it was just kind of one part of it, in a way, And it didn't take very long for the Onigachi Guardians to become aggressive. After that, we were in a state of war. 100 million burning as one. Kill the white savages. Want naught but victory. Adults and kids both were gnawing at the bit, avid to repel the foreign invaders. Describing it like that makes it sound kind of awful, like a reminder of the dark times of wartime Japan. Wait, let me read that again. Okay. But like I said before, for us kids it felt less like a war and more like a village-wide festival. Yet despite calling it a festival, dissenters were treated coldly, showing the Hojo house, of course, yeah. Their heartlessness lived up to the expression, wartime regime. The Hojo couple, who voiced their acceptance of their dam project in the midst of that atmosphere, were truly brave. Then on the 2nd year of the curse, they died in an accident, and everyone believed it was Oyashiro-sama's curse without question. So they were branded traitors and enemies of the village. And again, like, I really don't have an explanation for that one either, other than, like, maybe people actually did just kill him, right? The Hojo couple faced worse than just being ostracized as traitors. Everyone gave them the cold shoulder and talked behind their backs. The only person who didn't treat them badly was the priest. He's the priest, come on. Where the priest never objected to the anti-dam movement. He also never objected to the Hojo couple's advocacy for accepting the government's eviction and restitution to rebuild new lives. Those unforgivable Hojos became a slogan as the 3 families, especially the Sonozakis, united the village by turning them to scapegoats. And, and sadly, I'm sure that's part of why, like, Teppei's abuse of Sadako in Chapter 3, why... That's just another factor where it's like, even if people in the village could tell that Sadako was being abused and it was horrible, I wonder what Sadako's reputation in the village was like, you know? Because I remember, that's something I've thought about how, like, if people hated Teppei so much in the village, right? We're really getting off track here. We're talking about Chapter 3 again, but people hated Teppei so much in the village. Teppei ran away initially because of him being afraid of the curse, and also probably just people hated him, right? When he came back, it was abusing his daughter and being, not his daughter, abusing Sadako and being crazy. I mean, it's like surprising that the villagers didn't, drive him out, But I don't know, I guess they just didn't, and they also just didn't care about Sadako being abused, probably, right? There was really no one, even if Sadako hadn't viewed it with the weird, like, trial mentality, there was still, like, nuts. She couldn't go to, like, anyone, Very sad. Very unfortunate for her. It's interesting how it's, like, at the opposite for, like, Rika, the attitude the villagers have towards her, and probably the attitude that people have towards Sadako. It's, like, complete opposites, So they must have found it very shameful to have a fellow member of the three families approve of that, especially when it was the priest of the shrine that had become a symbol for the dam protests. As central figures in Hinamizawa, the three families were the backbones of the Onigashi Guardians, so a difference of opinion was undesirable, and the priest was never accused of anything. But secretly, people whispered that he was a heretic, that he was unfit to serve as Oishiro-sama's priest, that Oishiro-sama's curse would soon strike him down, along with other rumors. Sounds like motivation to fulfill that, He was pretty cool, managing to keep his head and remain neutral while everyone around him grew fervent. I thought Mion would share my opinion when I chimed back in. So when Mion gave a forced smile and didn't agree with me, I was taken by surprise. Interesting.
本当に大人だったら、あそこは周りに合わせて強調すべきところだったと思うね。
Appease them in what way?
フルデのおじさんは単に神社の神主だっただけじゃなく、
I suppose.
仮にも御三家の一つ。
Interesting.
フルデ家の長だったんだから。
Yeah, Mion having like an opinion on this related directly to his position in like a leadership position like that, right? Which is something Mion herself like thinks about a lot, because she has like these leadership positions in her life,
南沢全体が結束しなくちゃならない時に模範となるべき御三家の人間が自分から輪を乱すのは、それが大人と呼べるかどうかは私には難しいな。
I don't know. I guess I don't know what to think about it either. I don't know what to think about it. I really don't. Because like, what would the other answer be? What would they want of the priest to do? Right? I say he hated the Hojos and wanted them dead. He's the priest. I just don't know if that's a position he should have, right? But saying that he's not just the priest, he's also, he has this other position, being the head of the three families, represents part of the village, so they need to be united. It's interesting. It's kind of it is a nuanced way to look at it, I suppose. It just depends how important that of an idea is, like, I don't know. I was taken aback. I barely managed to say the following. Even though we're identical twins, we still had our own unique identities, of course. Every now and then our opinions differed, but usually only over some trivial matter. Yeah, it's like, how different is Mion now, after everything, right? And it's interesting, of course, we know Shion certainly has this attitude about change for herself. I wonder what she'll think about A, Mion changing, and B, I wonder how much she will consider more the idea of herself having changed, but who knows. We've never had a difference of opinion this big. It wasn't an enjoyable feeling. I decided to probe her some more. お姉の言う強調っていう言葉がなんだか好きじゃないんですけど。Sure. つまりそれって何？村全体を考えて神主さんは自分の考えを隠しているべきだったってそういう話？ Yeah, or I just should have had different opinions, 要するに Right. Exactly, right. And I think that's something very, very personally important to Shion, right? Because that's kind of her whole life, is how there's this big power structure, which is like the Sonozaki family, telling her that she's unimportant and shunning her and all of this, right? So of course she becomes such a like, what is she doing through all of this chapter so far? She wants to become self-sufficient, she's going to have to get a job doing all of this stuff, right? She's asserting her own individuality, so I guess of course it makes sense she would have this position, right?
別にそこまでは言わないけど。
Well, she's kind of hitting at the heart of the matter, you know? Yeah.
ただやっぱり御三家の長の一人なんだから
Exactly, right? Yeah.
もう少し言動は慎重にしてもよかったんじゃないかって、そういうことだ。
And that's what Mion thinks about herself, right? Like, well, like, in a way, right? Like, I mean, like, Mion, with her position now, having to view herself as a member of the three families and of the leader of the Sonozakis and all of this, right? Yeah, no, it makes sense, it makes sense. Mion faltered a bit as my tone grew more like a cross-examination. I realized I was speaking a bit too harshly. What Mion expressed was probably the more mature opinion on our scale. When everyone needs to work together to stand up to a vast enemy like the government, people should refrain from actions that would destabilize the alliance. Oh god, I feel like I could really... I don't know. Mion's attitude is very interesting. It just makes me think so much more about her reaction to the leadership positions that are essentially forced on her, right? I don't know. It's so... God, it's very interesting. When everyone needs to work together to stand up to a vast enemy like the government, people should refrain from actions that would destabilize the alliance. Writing it out and reading it now, I can understand that. But I wasn't mature enough to agree to such a totalitarian idea. Yeah, I don't know. I'm just not sure what to think about it either. It just depends how much you value that idea that Mion is essentially saying is so important, right? This idea of the village uniting in this way, right? How important it was for the priest to, like, take part in that, right? Because in the end, it didn't matter. Because the Jam Project stopped anyway, right? So, was the priest ever at fault at all, right? I guess it just depends, right? Because you could just think, it's... The idea of the village uniting like that against the Dame Project made sense, and I understand why they did it, and it was kind of good, right? It makes sense why it happened, right? At the same time, you can also say the village uniting in that way kind of amplifies, like, the isolationist nature of Hinamizawa, and it's like, I don't know if that's a good thing, right? And I just wonder if that could be something the priest himself was thinking about, I don't know, it's not such a black and white issue. Or maybe it wasn't me at all. It was Mion who'd made that mature judgment. We've been separated for over a year. I've been away from town. In the meantime, Mion has been training to take over the headship of the Sonozaki family. It's like she's doing it again. She's assuming that Mion's just, like, what, better than her? Right? Like, internally? She'd been treated as such, even before I was confined to that institution. She sat next to the hag in ceremonies and in meetings. She took her place when the hag was absent. But that was just it. We were never that different. Mion has become very like his successor since I've been gone. Interesting. Yeah, it is like her opinion on this is changing, huh? Somewhat. Slowly. She seemed to get what I was implying.
やっぱり私もバッチャみたいな考え方になっちゃってきたかな。
Maybe.
いいじゃないですか。お姉は次期当主なんだから。
She's the successor.
いつまでも下々と同じ考え方じゃまずいでしょ。さすが帝王学を学んだだけのことは。
The art of ruling.
そんなの学んでないよ。どうやればバッチャの振りができるかって、それだけだよ。
There's a bit of an act.
シオンにだって簡単にできるよ。
For sure.
そんなのやりたくないです。
Shion, it feels like it comes more naturally to Shion than to Mion,
ばあさんのおもりはミオンのお役目。ま、疲れない程度にほどほどに頑張りなさいませ。
It is interesting how it seems like Shion is so, in a way, she is kind of rejecting her own role, which is to be the shunned daughter and all of that, right? Like, obviously, she broke out of St. Lucia's. It seems like already we have this theme of prioritizing yourself and, like, individuality, and, right, that's something very important to Shion. It's interesting how for Mion, she just talks about how that's just her role and all of this, I just wonder, I don't really know how to read into that yet. I don't really know, because I don't think that's specifically has to be her in any way saying that kind of role is, like, in some way, like, important, right? Like, in terms of, like, it's her role, so she has to do it or whatever. I just feel like her talking about this idea of this role, there's something there. I'm not sure, like, how to dig into it yet, I didn't mean to be cold, but Mion seemed to take it that way. She smiled as if trying to pacify me. I smiled gently back at her, because we know that for Mion, the role that she has, she doesn't really like it either, right? Or she's, like, uncomfortable with it, at the very least.
おねミオン。
Mion.
何？確かに私たちの別離はいつも穏便じゃなかった。名前を引き離され、住まいを引き離され、そして 体を引き離された時もいつもね。
Mion looked down with a serious face, but then looked right back
あ
up.
んたは私がそのあたりで逆恨みしてるんじゃないかって思ってるかもしれない。でもそれは誤解。
If you say so. It's a good attitude to have, right? Telling yourself you're not jealous of it is good. And I think that's like a good step to be making, right? Because, like, what? She really wants to assert her own individuality, and she is really trying to fight against it, right? We know how it ended up in chapter 2, right? So it's so hard for me to, like, maybe it's true right now. Maybe it is true right now, and she truly doesn't feel jealous of it right now, right? And she truly feels like that she's succeeding, she's fighting against the system that has shunned her and all of this, right? And she really isn't jealous, right? And she feels like she's doing fine, you know? I just wonder if that's gonna change, or if she is being dishonest with herself.
そりゃ確かに確執はあったよ。でもそんなのは時間で流れる程度のもの。あんたが引け目を感じるようなことは何もない。
Up until birth, we were perfectly equal. Right after birth, we were separated by the grown-ups' priorities. I used to get mad about it when I was little. There's no denying that. But we don't have to start a disagreement over it. Yeah. Mion seems to understand what I'm trying to say. Huh. I like how she frames that as, you don't have to feel sorry for anything, because that would be such a Mion thing to do, right? Mion is just so like that, that Mion would definitely feel bad about it, right? I'm trying to think. I mean, obviously, again, it's like the relationship we've seen between Mion and Shion in present times seems so much worse than the way it is now. It's hard to, like, say if we've really seen anything like that, but I feel like that would be something Mion would feel, right, and think. Mion seems to understand what I'm trying to say. We each have our own characteristics, even though we're identical twins. Only we know the differences. We're also dependent on each other because of them. Mion seems more dependent. She always worries about me. If somebody gave her a cookie, she'd divide it in two and give one half to me. If somebody gave her a candy, she'd wait until I said it was okay to eat it. It's interesting just how Shion is saying over and over again that they're, like, the same in, like, so many ways. Nobody can tell a difference, you know? In chapter 2, Keiichi said it all the time, how radically different they were, all of this, you know? In that really good scene, Rena was talking about how she thinks they're both the same on the inside in a way. And I guess there's, like, layers to it, right? The idea that, like, people are all the same in a lot of the way. We're all people, right? We're all, like, the same in that kind of way, right? Then there's, like, you know, the same in terms of, like, a lot of ways, right? I hope you understand what I mean by that. And then there's, like, a layer outside of that where it's, like, your circumstances, the things that affect you, like, change your behavior and all of that, you know? And then I guess there's, like, an external layer beyond that, which is just, like, their appearance, which is just why everyone thinks they're, like, the same, right? If somebody gave her a candy, she'd wait until I said it was okay to eat it. On the contrary, I'm cold. I don't care about others if I'm satisfied. I'd put the candy in my mouth right away. Yeah, I have to emphasize that I don't hate her, and I'm well aware that she loves me. We both know that. Mion must have been hesitating to put the candy of the successor in her mouth, and was waiting to see if I was okay with that. Exactly, yeah, no. And that's just such a Mion thing to do, right? Like, she is just such a really, like, emotional, caring person in general, you know? Yeah. No, and I really just, I don't think Shion's, like, lying to herself. I don't want to say that this is at all, like, her being, like, unreliable narrator / her lying to herself in some way, like, in her own mind, right? I believe her. I think she really does love Mion. I don't think she blames Mion at all right now. Yeah.
頑張れ、ミオン。私もシオンを頑張る。
I tapped her forehead with my fist lightly. And it's just like, this just seems like right now, is that Shion is in this mindset where she has a complete acceptance, kinda, of their positions, right? Shion is doing her best to, like, reject it, basically. She's not accepting her position where she's the shunned daughter who doesn't get to do anything. No, she's fighting against it, doing her best to do that, assert her individuality, assert her sense of self in that way. And I guess it seems genuine that she doesn't hate Mion for it. She doesn't, you know, because she's fighting against the system and she's doing it, you know what I mean? But again, we just know that by the end of chapter 2, she has Mion in a cage calling herself Shion, and she kills everyone, right? So, like, what happens? You know? Mion put her forehead against my fist as if trying to feel the warmth. And, like, as I'm saying that I don't think she's lying to herself, I think that's true. But I also think it's impossible for her to be completely unaffected by it, right? Like, obviously, right? She's a child. Her entire family, or at least she thinks essentially her entire family, hates her and wants to shun her, right? And obviously that's going to affect her, right? Like, for sure, right? It's impossible for it not to, you know? So I don't believe that she is entirely unaffected by it. I don't really believe that she entirely doesn't resent Mion, at least just a little bit right now, you know? It's just, I just wouldn't believe it. I just don't think that's possible, you know? But I don't think it's, like, extreme. At least not right now. She's Mion, and I'm Shion. She's the successor of the Sonozaki family, and I'm just a vagabond, right? Like, that thought right there, right? Like, she, internally, it's so clear that she has these thoughts, right? She thinks about how, internally, she's had several times now, where she thinks about how Mion is just, like, better than her, right? Like, this line right here, how she's just a vagabond, and how she's the successor of the Sonozaki family. She's obviously internalized some amount of this inferiority complex, this idea that she is inferior and that Mion is better than her, right? She was raised like that. It's impossible for her to have avoided that completely, you know? So it's still there. It's still there, you know? That isn't a distinction, but rather our individuality, right? And sure, and I guess you can just say that. You can say, oh, we're just different, and that's fine, right? Like that, right, but there's still negatives and positives here, right? And ones that you aren't immune to. We shouldn't worry too much about the other anymore. We should feel relaxed, living as who we are, with our own characteristics. I didn't have to say any of that out loud. We can communicate by touch, just like this.
ありがとう。シオン、頑張ろう、ミオン。困ったことがあったらいつでも相談して。私たちはいつだってそうやってきた。それはこれからも何も変わらないよ。
If you say so. Mion kept nodding, with her forehead against my fist. I wonder how much Satoshi is going to change about all of this, right? Because I'm trying to think. Again, it just feels like something significant has to happen to really change Shion's attitude about these things, right? We know Satoshi is going to have a big part in her life. That hasn't happened yet. But I guess I don't really see how Satoshi could have such an impact. It seems like unrelated, you know? The only thing I can think, which, like, this is a wild prediction, I have no idea, is she is somehow going to get it in her mind that it's the Sonozakis that, like, killed Satoshi, right? And then that would really make her mad, right? If she thinks, you know, Mion's the leader of the Sonozakis now, she doesn't know what happened to Satoshi, right? Everyone says he ran away and all this, right? She gets really mad when Keiichi says that. If she thinks that it was somehow the Sonozakis, or even more directly Mion, that made Satoshi disappear, then that would make a lot of sense why she would have a serious change of heart. I don't know if that's where we're going, though. That's just the only possible connection I can imagine between Satoshi and her changing attitude about all of this, you know? I said goodbye to Mion before it turned evening. We had talked about the things that happened during my time away, and I enjoyed having that chat between sisters very much. We were able to dissolve our unsettled emotions. We didn't used to do that. Maybe it's because we hadn't seen each other for over a year. Or maybe it's just because things were more complicated now, in a way, right? It was late afternoon. My heart felt lighter now. I stretched and looked up at the sky. What is this one called? What is wished? The sky was clear, blue, and far away. No matter how tall I grow, I'll never be able to touch that sky. Interesting. Like, what a thing to think. Just a sad thing to think. I'm Shion Sonozaki, a girl who escaped from the life she was forced to live. Yeah, nobody will praise me for what I did and what I'm going to do. But this is what I chose.
なんだ。私だって大人な考え方。
I suppose. Good job, good job. I psyched myself up. I should go shopping for dinner. Though I have Kasai's help, I need to save money. I love junk food, but it'd be cheaper to cook. Ironically, the culinary classes from that evil school will come in handy. That evil school. Why not go to the shopping district in Ishiki? Something like that. The two S's are messing with me. Kami Ishiki? Like, I don't know. Like, is it Shiki? Would it be Shiki, or would it just be, like, Ishiki? I don't know. If I'm going there, then I need to take the other street. The cool breeze and the late afternoon felt nice on my skin. I love this track. Oh my god. Kasai came to the door while I was putting stuff I bought into the fridge. Really gotta grow up fast, just like a lot of other characters. God, not footsteps. What is this room? Like, what am I looking at? What are these things? Is this a trash can right here? Like, what? Giant bear? Rena needs that, that's for sure.
お疲れ様です。
買い物程度で疲れてちゃたまんないよ。
That's, yeah.
あ、葛西も食べてく？一人者にはスーパーの野菜の単位は大きすぎだしね。
よろしいんですか？
Of course.
ご厄介になってもいいものでしたら、ぜひ。
It is sad that Kasai is like her only buddy in that sense. You know what I mean? Like kind of her only parental figure, essentially, you know? Like, Kasai looked curious about what I'd cook.
その顔は全然信じてないな。
I feel like that's part of why she wants to cook for her, right? Is to get that, like, affirmation, you know?
見てろ。
これらは冷蔵庫でいいんですか？入れておきますよ。
あ、悪いね。二人分だとお米はこのくらいかな。よっこらしょっと。
Kasai skillfully packed food in the fridge while glancing at each item in turn. He noticed
シ
something.
オンさん、相変わらず缶詰はダメなんですか？
I hadn't bought any, of course. That was, of course, on purpose.
缶詰を避けての買い物
Why
は
does she hate canned
いろ
food?
いろ大変でした。
Other than the canned flesh incident, which I really hope has no relation to it. Why does she hate canned food? Like, her evil grandmother forced cans of food down her mouth? Like, I don't know.
理屈じゃ分かってんだけどね。無理強いされりゃ食べないこともないけど。それでも私はやっぱりパスだな。
I guess.
悪かったと思ってます。少しふざけすぎたと思ってますよ。
Huh.
だからそろそろ。
Oh, it is. No, it is. It's the canned flesh. It's the canned flesh. Really? That's why? Like what, they told her the canned flesh story when she was like 5 years old? Kasai chuckled and left. I know this sounds stupid, but I hate canned food. If somebody told me there was canned food in a meal I just ate, I'd throw up. It started with a silly thing. Kasai told me a horror story when I was little. Yeah. You know, one of those urban legends about meat from an unknown source. Like there's rumors about how there's worm meat mixed into burger patties, or dog meat in beef bowls. Kasai had fun telling me one of those stories because of how scared I got. He had fun, but I obviously didn't. I even started to cry in the canned food section of a supermarket. That's how much I hated it. I don't freak out like that anymore, but I still don't like canned food. Since I don't like it, I don't force myself, and I now live my life naturally avoiding canned food. You know what? Sure. You'll probably eat fresher, healthier food like that a lot of the time. One of the big differences between us twins, might be expensive though, is that Mion doesn't have this issue. That's interesting, right? Mion not having that issue, but Shion having it. When it stems from a story that is so related to like this darker secret, this dark past of the Sonozaki family, right? That's interesting. I'm not sure what connection to really say or like how far I want to read into that, you know. But I feel like that is an interesting connection you could make, right? Also, Shion knows about all this canned flesh stuff. She was Mion telling Keiichi about the canned flesh stuff at the end of chapter 2, right? Yeah. Kasai feels responsible for this, but he can't rid me of that fear. Right, like maybe this alone is almost like a hint for that in a way, if you hadn't figured it out. Because Mion wouldn't have heard of this story as a kid, right? Because Kasai told it to Shion, that's how Shion knew about it, and she was able to tell Keiichi about it, right? And maybe Mion knows about it now, but you know what I mean, right? Still, a flaw like this is actually a good thing. Otherwise, I'd be too perfect. Sure, if you say so.
Kasai, 机の上の新聞どけて。
いい匂いですね。
Also, just in a more maybe obvious sense, this is something from her childhood that still affects her deeply to this day, just like how the way she was treated growing up affects her deeply to this day. Despite how much she wants to say it doesn't matter and it doesn't affect her, right? Like, no, it still does, right?
ごちそうになります。
量が足りないと思ったら、あとは勝手に牛丼屋さんにでも行くこと。
Hmm.
テレビを切らないで。私は静かな食卓ってやつが苦手だから。
では、いただきます。
で、葛西何の用だったの？何か用事があってきたんでしょ？
I handed him a cup of tea. I could wait until dinner was over, but I wanted to get to the point quick.
食事が終わってからの方
Don't want
が
the
いいか
gnome to
と
go
思ってましたが、食べながらにしますか？
葛西が来た時点でずーっと何の用か気になってるから、先に言ってくれた方がご飯の通りが良くていいかもです。
Sure, I get it, I
自
get it.
宅に学園から電話が今日ありました。
Yeah.
今日そりゃ遅いね。
Yeah, they didn't call
よ
yesterday?
っぽど表沙汰にしたくなかったと見えるな。で、どうなったの？
電話は茜さんが取りました。
Oh.
親父さんには後で折を見て話すそうです。
Okay. Akane-san is my mom, yeah. That's what Kase calls her, as he's known her since before her marriage.
で、母さんなんか言ってた？
I was lucky she answered the phone, since she's relatively on my side.
仕方のないやつだと漏らしておりました。こういう結果も決して予想外ではなかったような顔つきでしたね。
Of course.
親父にはまだ知らせてないんだ。
茜さんなりにタイミングを測っているんでしょう。多分2、3日中には話すものと思います。
Okay, and what will he think?
親父はばあさん寄りだからな。
Oh, yeah.
耳に入れば自動的にあいつにも伝えるだろうな。
Oh.
で、伝わったら見つけ次第即刻ここへ連れてこい。申し開きの遺憾によっては
Oh,
指の
God.
1本や2
So
本
don't say
って
that.
ことになるだろうね。おっかない子って。
Yeah.
笑い
Funny,
事で済
huh?
めばい
Yeah.
いんですがね。シオンさんの指だけじゃ済まないかもしれないってとこだけよくお願いしますよ。あちちちち。
What do you do to him, huh?
がっつくからだよ。
Oh.
ちなみに味噌汁もご飯も作りすぎてるからおかわりは強制ね。3杯は絶対食べること。
I guess. A few days later, Mion told me that the hag had heard about my escape. Oh, God.
で、ばあさんはどんな感じだった？
How did she take it?
バッチェはカンカンでさ、
Of course, you are a bad omen after all.
もしも沖宮界隈に帰ってきてるなら、即刻見つけ次第自分の前に引っ立てろってさ。
She'd get you, huh?
怖っ。
Very.
実際に親父とかの動向は？
近々の親族会議でシオンをかくまってないか問いただすみたいだね。
Okay.
でも若いのに街中を探させるとかそういう真似はしないみたい。
Not yet. Not yet, I guess. Holding a family council means that things will remain in the hag's hands alone. She won't search the town for me. It's like she's unofficially approving my presence. Of course, I'll get caught immediately if they find me in a large public
母さん
place.
が随分暗躍してくれたみたいだね。
It's just inescapable, huh? I can tell she's being supported. Like, she just has to live in constant paranoia of this in a way, you know? I can tell she's being supportive. It's a long story, but my mom is sort of an outlaw, even though she's of the Sonozaki bloodline. Interesting. A long time ago. So that really makes me wonder if she really was the one who fought against killing Shion when she was born. A long time ago, she had a huge fight with the hag because she hated the family rules and traditions. She was even excommunicated. My mom was supposed to be the successor, but she was deprived of the title and Sis took her place instead. Interesting. While she's quiet now, Mom's still an outlaw. She's always been on my side, because I also hate rules and
親
traditions.
父、最初はすっごくカンカンだったらしいよ。母さんがだいぶなだめたらしい。何のかんの言っても、親父は最後には母さんには勝てないからね。
オッケー、ありがとう。
That's actually very surprising that the dad... Okay. Because their dad has always been framed as the big scary Yakuza boss, right? But apparently their mom is the dominant one in that relationship, huh?
また何かあったら教えてね。本当にやばくなったら、私もこの町を離れるつも
I
りだ。
guess. Wouldn't that be like admitting defeat, though?
葛西とか吉郎おじさんとか、それに母さんとか、世話になった人の顔は潰せないからね。
Yeah.
おねえ、あんたが今何を考えてるかどうして同じ血を分けた姉妹なのに、シオンだ
Exactly.
けこんな
Yeah.
隠れるように生活しなきゃならないのか、でしょ？
I feel like you have to be thinking that too, like in a way. Right? There's no way that's just what Mion's thinking. Mion was silent. That meant yes.
シオンだけこんな窮屈な思いをするのはフェアじゃないよ。
Very unfair.
絶対。
ありがとう。気持ちだけでも嬉しいです。
表に出たい時とかあったら相談して。
I just wonder if maybe Shion, because Shion has been the one dealing with it for so long. She's definitely, like, just become, like, numb to it almost in a way, you know? Again, I refuse to accept it doesn't affect her at all. That's for sure, right?
シオンがいつでもミオンになれるよう協力するからさ。
She sounded apologetic. I shouldn't go quiet or agree with her. She sticks to things a little too much. Once she goes down, she'll stay there for a while. Yeah. So I just told her simply.
実はそれが一番ありがたいです。
But no.
じゃあ切りますね。
Oh, okay. Or just, sure,
じゃあね。
sure.
またね。
Huh. Interesting. Is that the end of the chapter? I have no idea. I've been talking so much, I have no idea if we have more of this subchapter or not. I had literally no idea. Okay, nope, that's the end. Okay. These ones weren't, like, super long, despite me, like, rambling so much. Reunited with a close relative. I didn't get some of the achievements for the last chapter, which is so annoying, because I didn't have, like, Steam open. I was just opening the game with, like, Steam not open and, like, offline. So I just don't have some of the achievements, like, forever, I guess, unless I play it again. A smudged diary. Wow, this is... oh, God. Oh, it's Satoshi's perspective, huh? Am I, like, ready for this? Like, Jesus Christ. Sadako was crying while hiding behind my back. She'd been crying while clinging onto me, so my back was wet with her tears and snot. My aunt had been screaming hysterically, but she looked tired now. I suddenly realized, wait, let me look around the room a little bit. Okay. I suddenly realized that it was already past 1 in the morning. Great. She vomited out a series of screams one last time, then finally called it quits. Sadako seemed exhausted. She was looking down in a state of shock. Even after my aunt walked away, she didn't realize she had been freed. So I stroked her head and told her,
Sadako.
Finally get to hear his voice, huh? Sadako twitched, except it's not over, but... Her eyes grew bright again, and tears rolled down her cheeks. She looked up at my face. She knew it was over, but wanted to hear it directly from me. She begged me with a look. To be honest, I was really exhausted too. I felt a bit annoyed when she tried to make me say it, but I needed to pacify her, so I gently told her what she wanted to hear. Sadako clung to me while her tears continued to fall. She was crying again silently. Sadako was shivering pitifully. Her small back reminded me that there was nobody else to protect her. So much just responsibility, you know? Like... And that's just why I think, even though the idea that Satoshi would have just ran away and left Sadako here, it seems so against this idea that, like, he was always about protecting her and stuff, right? It's like, you can't be against the idea that he would just break someday, right? And just be unable to do it forever, you know? Like, obviously, I don't think he truly just ran away, right? But I don't think it's ridiculous to, like, entertain that, you know? Because how unbelievably hard it would be. Because it's just so awful, right? I mean, I guess it's just, you know, it's child abuse. Everyone knows child abuse is real bad, right? But it's just the one place where it's just, as a child, you should be able to have a place to exist and to be, and you just don't, you know? Like, instead of the feeling that I think a lot of people had, that I certainly had, right? Where it's like, oh, school's finally out, I get to go home, and, like, I play video games, play Minecraft or something, right, as a kid, right? They have the opposite, where they dread going home every day, because it's this, you know, just, it's no wonder it really scars you for life, right? Sadako smiled faintly and nodded. I felt dizzy. As I was released from the strain, a harsh drowsiness fell upon me. Yeah. While Sadako was washing her face, I went to the toilet. I zoned out while watching my pee. In my dizziness, I almost missed the shot. I felt like I was being sucked into the toilet. I couldn't even remember what caused it. Why did my aunt start screaming today? And we know I don't know what month it is. I don't know if they told us. I don't think they did. They just said it was 1982, but not that far away from him killing her, right? So, Yeah, yeah. Okay, you know what? Even though we did 2, this one isn't as long as I thought it was gonna be. But you know what? That's fine. That's fine. We're making good time. We're making good time. Good chapters. Good chapters. I'm loving Shion more than I ever thought possible. I love her. She's great. She's awesome. Um yeah, I guess that's it. Trying to think if there's anything else I want to say. I don't think so. Immediately. Loving this chapter. Very compelling so far. I like Shion. I'm very curious where this is gonna go, right? I feel like something you could say, because I assume, again, it's like I assume in this chapter, because this is an answer arc, and this seems so related to Shion and Mion and everything. I assume the mystery behind chapter 2 with like the whole Shion Mion stuff is gonna be like revealed, right? It's gonna be officially revealed if you didn't already get it from chapter 2 that Shion was the one who killed everyone and not Mion, right? And I mean, I'm just saying, I mean, like, despite me knowing that, it's not like this is any worse, right? I guess I just hope that, because I'm sure a lot of people who play through this game, I'm sure people have watched other reactions and stuff. A lot of people probably don't have that figured out by the time they're watching this, right? I hope that doesn't, like, make it any worse for you to watch my reactions to it, because I'm certainly enjoying this a whole lot, despite that, right? So, I don't know, I guess we'll see where it goes. I hope me knowing that already won't, like, ruin later parts of the chapter or something, if that's, like, a huge reveal or meant to be or something, you know? But, I mean, hey, you know, chapter 2 is supposed to have lower difficulty, and I figured it out, so what do you want me to say? Anyway, yeah, I guess that's it. We already saved. Okay, so please, if you enjoy my videos, subscribe, leave a comment, tell me what you think. And I'll see you in the next one.